Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Hangout. I'm Joshua Cummins, and as you see, my guest here is our very good friend Eddie Block. Welcome in, Eddie. How you doing, brother? And just a reminder that Hangout is just one of many shows on Revolver Broadcasting. What is Revolver Broadcasting? You might ask that question very much so. It's just one show of this entire network of shows for your entertainment, for your education, for your news, for your pure joy. So if you haven't already, do hit that follow or subscribe button, depending upon the platform you're viewing or listening on. But also make sure to visit the website, revolverbroadcasting.com. The website again is revolverbroadcasting.com. And if you were to, you might just see something like this, and you'll see where it says podcasts. You can hover over that, and you'll see all of our shows, including this one. And if you click on Hangout, it should take you into all the episodes. Sometimes they show the most current, sometimes not. It's part of this the update with Google stuff. I don't know how it all works. I'm still trying to figure that all out, but anyhow, it's where you get to see that stuff. You can also go to our news chambers where you'll see daily devotionals, the prayer list, and assertions. All good stuff. Daily devotionals written by our good friend Danny Tippett, who was on episode 1, just after episode 0 of Hangout. And there's a lot of stuff on there that'll make you think, make you deepen your faith and your knowledge all in one take. You can also visit our shop while you're on there. And if you do, you get to shop like a hot shot and check out all of our collections. We have the Crisis King collection, Revolver Broadcasting collection, Trump Vance collection, all the things, all the shows, with the exception of this one, because I still have yet to put some stuff out. But I will, I promise. And we'll go into the Trump Vance collection because I think that there's some stuff in there that Eddie might like the again t-shirt where it's Donald Trump. He's now home again, for the second term, and Biden and Obama are trying to thieve from him in the background there, much like Home Alone 2. There's the best part of waking is Donald Trump is your president. That also comes in a t-shirt, not just a mug. We also have they call JD Vance weird, so we did the weird t-shirt. The MAGA fries, because everybody loves my MAGA fries. Donald Trump, straight out of MAGA. JD Vance's "I really don't care, Margaret" quoted shirt. The Trump House Rock, which is Donald Trump head on Elvis's body. Daddy's Home, Trumpomania. Mr. T, which that's a favorite over here for sure. Donald Trump as Mr. T, and the fight shirt, of course. Of course, there's the shirt I was telling you about. The best part of waking up is Donald Trump is your president. So get in there and get you a bunch of those t-shirts, hats, mugs, all the things.
Is that through that new company you're using, Fourth Wall?
That is our distributor. So now everybody, the cat's out of the bag. Yes, that's our distributor, and they're amazing. It's all good. They're an amazing distributor. So if they were to be willing to sponsor and maybe make some of those shirts for free, because we're now endorsing them, you're welcome, Fourth Wall. Oh my goodness, my dogs are going crazy, and you guys are just going to have to deal with it while you're viewing because I love my dogs, and I'm not going to tell them to shut up. So if you don't love them, then that's your problem. And I think Eddie would agree.
Oh, I definitely agree. My dogs come first. My dogs definitely first. And real quick, just so I can do this real quick, so I can get off. Everybody, I went live only for a minute because I'm not going to bite off of Josh's channel, but I put the link in the chat. It's also in the description. Look up Revolver Broadcasting on Rumble, on YouTube, on X, on where else are you at right now?
We're on Rumble, Locals, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, X, and Pilled.
Beautiful. So go check out all those channels. I'm gonna get off of here now so we can focus on his channel. But I wanted to go live because then you guys will get the notification, and then you'll come over and watch us on Josh's channel. So good night, everybody. We'll be back later on. There we go. That way we get the people to come watch you, because this is your shot. There we go. We're all ending streams.
Yeah. My channel, but it's all about you today. And but just before we do, I want to remind people, if they haven't already, make sure you're hitting that like button. Just smash it. Make sure that you're following or subscribed depending upon the platform that you're viewing or listening on. Make sure that notification bell is turned on so that you know exactly when we go live every single time. And make sure you comment. I can't mention this enough. I know that on Rumble that doesn't really affect much, but on the other platforms, commenting is like everything. So please do comment if you're on platforms outside of Rumble. But if you're on Rumble, please do say hi and hello and all that stuff because we want to hear from you. Yeah, make fun of me, make fun of Eddie, all you want. You got free for all. We got thick skin. Easy enough, right? And let's see what else. Oh yeah, make sure that you guys are sharing this content because I've heard through the grapevine. I don't know if you're used to saying the thing we say over here at Revolver, Eddie. Sharing is what now?
I'm guessing carrying.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Randy Savage, Macho Man, Randy Savage.
Yeah, that's right, Macho Man. Sterling hates it when I do that, so that's why. Yeah,
does he?
Yeah. He's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Because it's awesome."
Hope starts watching because I have a whole bunch of Hope's voices that we can upset people with too.
Yeah, and you guys better stay in line as viewers, because otherwise,
crack the whip.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. Now I got it all ready. So now I can see the chat. You can't. Rumble Studio doesn't share the chat with. I can't type in the chat.
No, the new version of the studio does, but this is the older. This is a legacy version. And reason I went with the legacy version, and for just like nerd out a little bit for with you guys, it's like behind the scenes type of thing. The legacy version doesn't crash after the first half hour. But the new version, it still has multiple issues, and the few times that we've used it, it's crashed after the first half hour. We had during Dana's God's Signpost during his hangout, the first half hour, we had almost 100 people watching or more, and depending upon all the platforms together, if you want to view it that way or not, and first half hour crashed, and so I had to start a whole new stream, and we only got like 3/4 of everybody back. So yeah. And we learned our lesson with Morning Word as well. We tried to do it with Morning Word a few times, and it's just like, okay, let's just go back to legacy. Let's go with what works, wait for them to work out the bugs, and then we'll use the new stuff when it's better.
Hey, I agree. I have all these trouble, and I always, like I could only focus for so long, right? My disability, all this other stuff going on, and so it's hard for me to go and try and figure out fixes. So yeah, I totally get it. I'm lazy when it comes to that stuff.
It reminds me of the early days of Rumble. Remember when we were just getting it all figured out, and and after that that 2-hour mark, it just rumble you out.
Oh yeah.
It'd be gone. Okay, gotta come back.
Rumble is doing so much better now, though.
Yeah,
so much better.
Yeah, they got their comeuppance. They just gotta fix this new studio and off to the races. I mean, because they listened. I mean, there's a lot of elements in that new studio that's amazing. But yeah, not to bore the viewers to tears with our technical blah 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 blah. We want to talk about Eddie Block. We're going to talk about Eddie Block, and this is the man of the hour, the guest of honor, and where we're going to start with first, Eddie, as we normally do here on the Hangout, we start with warm up questions, as you know, and we're going to start with your favorite color.
My favorite color is blue. It's always been blue. I don't know why it's always been blue. Blue and then green, of course. I really like green, but blue has always been my favorite color since I was a kid. Don't know why. And like I just got a new scooter and I wanted, they had blue or red, and I was like, and I looked at the options to buy it, and it only had red. I was like, what? You don't have blue? They're like, no, we're also out of blue. And that upset me. But blue is a good looking color, Gotta like blue. I see you like red, so
yeah, red is definitely my favorite color. But yeah, blue is it's calming. I think it's probably what it is.
That, and I think because I was raised in the 80s, and blue meant boy.
Boy stuff. Yeah, I get that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is, you know how it goes. So yeah, that's my favorite color.
Warm-up question number 2. What's your favorite book?
My favorite book. When I was a kid, I was a huge Stephen King fan. I actually joined the Stephen King Book of the Month club, so every month I get a new book in.
Mhm.
But I'm not too big of a fan of Stephen King anymore.
I can appreciate that. Does it separate the art from the artist, or is it kind of just like it's just too far gone?
It's too far gone, I think. He's just too far gone. Because I'm not that person. I'm not about canceling people out, right?
Yeah.
If you disagree with me on all politics, but you can provide me a service or you can provide me something that I want to see, then yeah, I'm not going to cut out my whole entire life because everything's liberal, right?
Yeah.
And so my favorite shows, I'll watch my favorite shows, but like one of them was Grey's Anatomy. And as soon as Grey's Anatomy started, talking about the mask and oh, the Rona is caused by, then I was like, you know what? This stuff is for I don't watch I watch TV to get away from this stuff.
Yeah.
That's when I leave the show, So, but my favorite book, oh my goodness, that's my favorite book probably would be Shel Silverstein, I think is his name. It was a kid's book back in the day. It was like a poems book. I think it's Shel Silverstein.
Let's, yeah, quick search here.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Shel Silverstein.
American writer and cartoonist. Book of poems. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Where the sidewalk ends. And, yeah.
yeah, that's it
Yeah.
right there. Where the sidewalk ends. That's my favorite one.
A Light in the Attic. Yeah, I remember those books. Yeah, those were dope, man. I remember those elementary school for me. Also, so yeah.
That's I would not to sound weird, but that would probably be my favorite book of all time. You know, Where the Sidewalk Ends. Definitely a great book. Um, when I was a kid, I used to read all the time. I'd read a book a day when I was a kid. So, which we'll probably get into that later on because there's reasons for that.
Yeah, we definitely it's here in just a few short minutes. But the next warm up question, of course, being what's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie, man. I'm a big movie buff, so I have a lot of them. So probably Happy Gilmore for comedy. It'll be Happy Gilmore slash Half Baked.
Okay.
Those make me laugh a lot. John Wick, the John Wick series. I have every single one of those on Blu-ray. Just love John Wick.
Yeah,
So
Consequences.
yeah, yeah. The Boogeyman.
Baba Yaga. Yeah, I get it. It's
yeah.
like the guys movies, right? Like as far as like the John Wick movies.
I watch girly movies too sometimes, but it depends on how you're feeling,
Those are good picks, though. Those are good
Yeah.
picks.
Yeah. So
Yes.
those would be my favorite movies of all time, probably. Those are the movies. Half Baked is probably the movie I watched more than anyone ever. Was that? Or like Tommy Boy. It doesn't hurt here or here, but right here. Some people will understand that joke.
Oh yeah. What if you've ever heard the Revolver Broadcasting placeholder video over here on Rumble? It's Chris Farley is a big influence. So like, yeah, everything.
Oh yeah.
Actually, as a matter of fact,
Lottie frickin' da!
See, I watch so much TV and movies that now I'm thinking well maybe I should have said The Hangover, or something like that because I've seen that a lot too. But
yeah, but there's the movies that's like that you watch a lot, but then there's always that one movie that like when you're feeling blue or whatever, and it's just like it's the movie that like it's a comfort movie is what I call it.
Yeah,
Comfort
that was
movie.
definitely Half Baked.
Half Baked is your comfort movie. Yeah.
You've done smoked yourself retarded. I'm a custodian, dick. Or when he quits.
Yeah.
You're cool. Yeah.
I'm out.
And I don't know why, but every time I watch that movie, I learn something new, you know? Like the guy on the couch one time they were talking about it, and I didn't realize he's flipping them off from the couch. I was like, "Oh, shoot, they were doing that," you know?
Yeah. Well, and it's like, where does this guy come from? He's just in their apartment all the time and not paying rent, and they're just like, "That's cool." He came with the apartment.
Sounds like my apartment back in the day.
I
Maybe
think
that's why.
I think it's like a young man bachelor thing, right?
Maybe, yeah, yeah. Our house, me and my buddy, we were best friends, and our house was the party house. There was a party there every single night, you know? And then we take all the beer cans and stuff, and we were broke, so we every day we take the beer cans down to the drive-in where they had the recycling guy and, you know, go cash it in, and that was our dinner and food for the day was all the beer cans. Like, so that tells you a little bit about my younger years.
It's like, yay, Stofers.
Well, at that time, we both worked. He worked at Burger King, and I worked at Taco Bell, you know? So we had free food from there mostly too.
Nice.
If you went in our cabinet, we didn't have glasses or nothing like that. We had Taco Bell cups. We had the big roll of toilet paper from Burger King. You know, chicken McNuggets would be in there, or should be chicken tenders because they were a Burger King.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was great. It was great. Just living the life day by day. Not
Not a care, huh? Not really.
not really. Every time they shut off our cable, you just climb up on the roof because we lived in a duplex, and you go and you get a little adapter and you plug into your neighbor's cable, and it was so bad that eventually Comcast was like, if we just charge you $20 and give you a box, will you just pay the $20 because we're sick and tired of coming and fixing you guys breaking?
I was like, I don't know what happens, man. Somebody just goes up there and splices it for us. I
don't know. What happened is that they had it. They did. It was on the roof, right? And all of a sudden, they figured out that I was just going on the roof and splicing into it. So then they moved it to the telephone pole. So then we just backed up and put a ladder up to the telephone pole, and I'm sitting there hanging off the side trying to. Yeah, we were done. We were done. I've also been electrocuted, but I'm not going to tell you why. I might get in trouble.
Okay. There's no statute of limitations on being electrocuted.
Well, I guess it is, huh? I guess there probably is. That'd probably be good. Hey, they turned the power off when we were broke and we needed power. So
yeah, works for me.
Yeah,
that's vague enough.
I'm not proud of it, guys, whatsoever. But when you're 19 years old and living on your own, you do the kind of things that you got to do.
You can get that from your neighbors too. Just plug in an extension cord, run it all the way over.
Yeah, we did that too. But then they moved out. The cool neighbors moved out, and we got these new set of neighbors, and all they did was complain, and I was like, you moved into the ghetto. It's like the worst neighborhood in town.
What'd you expect, guy?
Right. Well, it didn't help. Like, I had a brand new car, and because of where we lived at, I parked it on the lawn to keep an eye on it so people wouldn't mess with it. And so I had to drive right by their window, and I just kind of had it was a 1996 Honda Civic with modified muffler, and every time you pull up, you got to go kind of stuff. Yeah, I was that neighbor. What's up, Gavin? Gavin's in the house,
and so is Hope. Hope is here over on YouTube. Yeah.
Oh, YouTube. Okay, that's why I can't see her chat. Darn Hope.
She knows she's supposed to be watching on Rumble.
The problem is she has trouble getting on Rumble.
Oh.
Yeah. Her and Rumble don't like each other.
Huh. Strange.
Yes, it is.
There's a pill for that, I think.
Is there? I got one right here. Professional Strength Indica.
That'll get you right onto Rumble.
I'm in California, folks. It's legal. Leave me alone.
I'm in Indiana, where it's not. One of these days, I think. I don't know. But yeah, I know that we went through some warm up questions. We got a couple stories out of you already. But let's retrograde it. Yeah, let's go back.
Okay.
To Baby Eddie. Baby Eddie, and let's start your story there. What was it like for you as little Eddie coming up? You know, mom, dad, things of that sort.
Well, little Eddie spent almost all of his entire life in the hospital, so that was kind of that was a huge difference for most of the people out there. Um, so I was born with spinal bifida, which is, if you don't know what that is, your all your nerves and stuff are born outside of your spine, and there's nothing covering them, so they have to operate immediately and put all your nerves and jam it all back in there. But most people that have it are not cannot walk at all. And I have the worst level. There's occulta, which is like, low level. Then there's my whatever myleo. I don't even know the names. I don't care. I got to deal with it. I don't need to know all about it.
Right.
um, so that's the even worse. But I was born with 8 different birth defects the day I was born. I was born at 11:09 at night, and I know this thanks to my sister. And she would always what she did it once to me. I learned after that. It was my birthday, and I was like, "Hey, you gonna give me a present?" She's just like, You weren't born till 11:09 at night. That's when you can get your presents." And I was like, so I waited till 11:09 at night, and like, "What'd you get me?" She's like, "I didn't say I got you anything. I just said you don't get them until 11:09." So that's why I've never forgotten that I was born at 11 o'clock at night. Um, but my disability was so bad, so I was born at Vandenberg Air Force Base, here in California, where all the rocket launches are, and Elon Musk is there now, and they didn't know what to do with me. I was that bad, and my mom being from Holland and my dad, old school days, we're Catholic all the way. So they instantly called Father Fitzgerald to come up so he could baptize me, because they didn't want me to die being unbaptized. Because in Catholic world, that's like a no, no bueno. If you're not baptized, then you're going to, I think it's you're going to hell or something. Not probably going to hell, because everything in Catholicism is you're going to hell.
Maybe
So
so, yeah.
uh,
It's very
so they
ritualistic, yeah.
so it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. Father Fitzgerald baptized me, and then they put me on a plane to Travis Air Force Base, where I think I had a surgery every day for the first week of my life, something like that.
Wow.
So I spent most of my childhood in hospitals. Um, I think until I was 4, they had to keep making new casts, because I'd have a full body cast from here down. And that's kind of why they say I'm so strong as an adult, my arms, because my first 4 years I was just crawling around with a body cast, all that extra weight. So I dealt with that. My little torture devices, I called them. My feet go like this.
Yeah.
And so they would put a bar in between my feet so they'd stay straight, and all it did was keep you up all night and hurt. Never fix nothing. So that was, some of my torture devices. Growing up as a kid for me wasn't all that fun, in the hospital back and forth. So that's mostly what I remember, actually. You don't remember the good times as much as you remember the bad times, right? So
Unfortunately, yeah, that kind of seems to be the human condition, is to remember more of the negative than the positive.
yeah, oh yeah. So that was younger years. The worst part of all was when I was 6. Um, so I was at a party, a sleepover party, and my mom was in Holland visiting family, and the next day, it's already rough for me because I have a lot of issues, especially as a kid. I didn't know how to handle them, or prevent certain things from happening, and the parents were ready to get me the heck out of there, 'cause some of the stuff, you know, and my dad never showed up, and he never showed up. It turned out he had a heart attack.
Oh,
He was only 40, and luckily they got him there in time, and everything was good. But that kind of set up something for the rest of my life. Now I hate when people are late, because
mm,
I instantly go to that, I guess. Um, but then a couple months later, it was Saturday. It was a Saturday morning, and every Saturday when I was a kid, my stepdad mowed the lawn. He did his Hank killing out there, and my sister and I would be in the living room, and I'd watch. It was Popeye, then it was The Little Rascals, And then there was this guy, KTLA Channel 5 had Vince Van Patten. He had like a movie. So I'd always do that, and my dad would always go buy donuts. So he came in from mowing the lawn, and he went to go grab a donut and just kind of fell over and kind of died in my arms. So being 6 and having that happen, that was pretty traumatic, you know. I lost my dad pretty young.
I'm sorry that you went through that, buddy.
And so we didn't know back then, you know, about Agent Orange. He knew he was around something that he thinks the reason. He told my stepdad that the reason why I was disabled was because of what he did in Vietnam and the chemicals he was around. And that was before my stepdad was my stepdad, you know. So we didn't know about Agent Orange affecting anything at that time. Come to find out, like 10 years later, we found out that heart attack was the #1 cause of Agent Orange exposure.
Wow.
And what I have, spinal bifida, is the #1 cause of birth. Is the #1 birth defect caused by Agent Orange exposure in the parents. And so we didn't know that it was his 21 years of service in the Air Force that killed my dad.
Wow.
So that kind of sucked. You know, he was only out for 3 years, and he left me, my mom, my sister, and my dad. My brother. So yeah, so that was really rough. You know, 6 years old, watching that happen. You know, and just the transition. So it was definitely really hard.
Yeah.
My stepdad came into play afterwards, and he ran a drug and alcohol treatment center because he was a recovering alcoholic. Like, I think this year he's going to hit 53 years without anything.
Wow.
And so I'm 6, you know, all of a sudden this new guy starts sniffing around, you know, so I hated him, and we never got along. So he definitely there was definitely reason for me to hate him, let's put it that way. And I didn't find out until just a couple years ago that he has really bad PTSD. Like, I did not know anything that he did in the military, and every once in a while he lets something slip out, and I'm like, holy shit, no wonder you're he's 100% disabled, not from being disabled, but from PTSD. That's how bad his PTSD is.
Wow.
You know, had I known that when I was a kid, I probably wouldn't have kept pushing all of his buttons to, you know, I was a dickhead little kid, you know.
So we also didn't know that much about it back then either. So it may have unfortunately still been a lot of the same.
Probably, yeah, in the 80s.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to talk about it at all. So
yeah, it's part of that generation.
Yeah.
Just kind of just dealing with it, not really saying much about it.
Yeah, you know. But you know, my mom stuck with him, and they married until my mom died. So he treated her right. But yeah, so I had a rough time with him. So he was always, you know, and he hated me, right? So he'd say, you can't watch TV, you know, during the summer break. And then I remember one day he snuck in through the backyard just so he could catch me watching TV so he could punish me. And got to where I was locked up in my room for probably like 3-4 years straight. The only place I could go to was the library. So that's why I've read so many books. And we had a small library in our little town. So it got to where I started even reading the girl books, you know, because there was guy books. Like, I read that. What's that Margaret one about?
Oh, yeah. Are you there, Goddess Be Margaret?
Yeah, where she's trying to grow. I even read that book, you know.
It's actually a pretty fantastic book, honestly. It's a coming of age story, you know. So
I don't remember much.
You don't remember much?
I forget everything. Hey, look, Sharon came over. Sharon's here. Came over from
for the follow, by the way.
Huh?
Thanks. Thanking her for the follow, because yeah, she followed, and Hope came to her senses. She's on. She's watching on Rumble now.
About time, Hope. Get it
get it together.
None of us are monetized on YouTube, and when you know, we're not trying to be rude to you guys, but when you go to YouTube, it doesn't help our channel out because they'll never monetize us. I don't know about you, but they'll never monetize me.
I was gonna say we're actually currently monetized on YouTube, but they don't pay as well as Rumble. Rumble's just better. Yeah, and I don't mind saying that while streaming to YouTube because it's just true.
You said I can be candor on here, so fuck YouTube. I always say
that's right.
like I just got my stuff back from the FBI, and one of the pictures on my old iPad was from December 20th, or yeah, December 20th, 2020, right? And it was a screenshot because I was so excited because I had just blown up that month, and I had 2.1 million watch minutes. I'm like, oh my god, look at this, 2.1 million minutes, and all of a sudden they, now I'm demonetized, and I'm like, you assholes! But they leave my channel up. I can't log into my channel. I can't post to my channel except for my this last cell phone still has that YouTube is still logged in. So if I ever log out or if I break this phone, I'll never have access to it again. But they collect money and commercials off my stuff, but I don't ever see it anymore. So
Well, that's something.
yeah. Hope says I'm just upset because both of her interviews were better than mine. Yeah. Hope is more famous than me, that's why. Hope's a rock star.
Yeah, she's a rock star. It was great to have her over here and do her interview. And so you mentioned, mom being from Holland.
Yeah.
So did she also speak English and things like that, or was it kind of a language barrier between you and mom type of thing? How did that work?
Not at all. So actually in Holland, you start learning English in first grade.
Oh, nice.
Because English is like in most countries, they teach you English because that's what the business world talks. So that's why there was no conflict at all with my mom about that. The conflict I had with her is that she never taught me Dutch.
Hmm.
So my mom met my dad in Camp New Amsterdam. My mom's Dutch, so she was in the military there, and she had like a high top secret clearance level person. And my stepdad was who I don't know what he was anymore because he gotten awarded all these medals, but he was just a telephone repairman,
Yeah.
But yet he's got a Air Force Cross, and you can only get that by saving people's lives.
Yeah.
So, I'll never know what he did over there.
His other job was Captain America?
Maybe. Never know. Probably not though, because he was like 5'6" and
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what Steve Rogers was before he took the serum.
Oh, that's true. That's true, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe. You never know. But yeah, so they met there, and then she decided to become an American citizen when she got married to my dad. And he already had my brother and sister from another marriage. But yeah, it wasn't that hard with the English. In fact, my mom wouldn't allow anybody to come to America from our family and not speak English. So when relatives would come visit us, she made them speak English, even the house. Like, you're in America, you speak English. When I went to Holland, she would teach me just enough words to speak to them in Dutch because it's respect for my mom. You go to another country, you learn their language and speak their language. So that's how my mom was. She actually got fired because she refused after she retired, she worked at a casino, and she refused to help anybody if they spoke to her in Spanish. Like, I'm not going to help you to speak English. And so they fired her, and she's like, I stood up. This is she's an American. She loved America. Her favorite president was President Reagan, who she actually got to meet. So
Nice.
it was pretty cool. She worked in Solvang, California at a hotel, and the Secret Service stayed at her hotel. So she started bringing them home every night. And what it was to my mom is she told him, "You protect my president. You need to have a good home cooked meal every night. So come to my house." And the very first revolver I ever held, or even any gun, was a Secret Service weapon. It was
Wow.
pretty cool. And so they were so thankful of that. And I guess they told President Reagan. So he invited my parents up to go visit him on his ranch. And so my parents got to go meet Ronald Reagan because of what they did, for the Secret Service, which is really cool. So,
It is really cool.
yeah. So I didn't get to go.
No, but yeah.
But,
still
so,
knowing that your parents got to meet him, that's still really cool.
right?
He had that much of an influence. Must have been some good food. Must have been some really good food.
My mom's the best cook. And coming from Holland and just the age that my parents were, that's how it worked. Like even when my grandma would come over from Holland, she would make sure we had steak and potatoes. And I remember my mom always bitching about it. She's like, just because he's American, he doesn't have to have steak and potatoes every goddamn night, you know? But that's what it was at our house. Every night we had a home cooked meal. We all sat down at the table and you ate your food until it was done, you know? None of this. Oh, it's okay, honey. Here, go watch TV. I'll put your iPad on, you know? I was raised the right way. Catholic school. You know, you don't wear your hats in public, especially at the dinner table. Never call a person by their first name if they're older than you. Oh my goodness. I was at my mom's work one day and Miss Kennedy was like, just call me Bev. And I was like, no, ma'am, I can't. And she's like, well, why not? And from behind my head, I hear, because I'll knock the living shit out of them. You know, I was raised the right way.
So it sounds like you got your fire from your mom.
Oh, definitely. She was like a pit bull. She was like a pit bull. She, I remember one year we were at the flower festival because Lompoc, California, we used to be the flower capital of the world. So every year we have what's called the flower festival, and she went up to the game and they're like, look, my son really wants that bear right there. We have all these from last year because you know you win, you start with the small one and you got to keep upgrading and upgrading and upgrading, right? And what's up, Cindy? So she went to this guy and she's like, look, I know these are from last year, but can he trade it up if he wins for that? And he guy says, sure, no problem. You know, I'm in my wheelchair and stuff. What's he gonna do?
Yeah.
Well, then he went on break when I finally won enough to get there. And the new guy wasn't having it. He's like, oh no. And it was so bad. My mom got so upset pushing to get me what she, you know, she wanted me to have that she almost got arrested over it. That was the kind of mom my mom was, you know. And God bless her for it. She always made sure she took care of me. Like when I got older and I was working, I just started in the union and I was working on Travis Air Force Base. And that's where they sent me for all my surgeries as a kid. Well, I just joined the union, so there was no insurance yet, and I got really sick. And so I called my mom from the base hospital and I was like, yeah, but they're sending me out because, you know, I don't have insurance and I'm not in the military. And she's like, you just hold on a second. So she called me back like 20 minutes later, and she's like, you can stay at that hospital." I'm like, "No, they said their ambulance is coming to get me right now." Next thing you know, the base commander, which is who's the guy who's in charge of the whole base, he's like, "Mr. Block, you know, I heard about your situation. I'm very honored that your dad served our country for 21 years, and we're gonna let you stay." So I don't know what she said to him, but I can only imagine. Mama bears. That's what
Yeah.
they do. They take care of their kids.
Yeah, so you had the mom from Goldberg's type of thing, from the Goldberg's TV series.
Yes.
You're gonna turn this ship around, or I'm gonna come here and wreak havoc.
That was definitely my mom. I would always mess with our band teacher when I was in marching band, and so one day I showed up at home, and there he is in the living room with my parents, and I was like, "Oh, great!" And so I'm sitting down, and he's telling my mom all this stuff that I'm doing to him in school, right? You know, in high school, and she's like, "Well, aren't you a freaking adult?" And he's like, "Huh?" He's like, "You're the adult. You're the teacher. Do something about it. Don't come whining here to me. It's not my job to take care of him in school. If you can't handle it, you shouldn't be a teacher." That was the kind of mom I had, you know? She kicked my ass when I needed it, you know? So yeah. Or there was a time when I got in trouble. Because I was in a disabled classroom, right? Because of my disabilities.
Right.
And so I'd have to have at least one period in there. And that was more for the mentally disabled people. So they give us, you know, words like elephant and stuff, and you had to write the definition and then write 3 sentences in there. And I'm lazy. I like to do stuff the easy way.
Yeah.
So I'd write, I don't want to use elephant in a sentence. I don't know how to use elephant in a sentence. You know, and I wish I knew how to use elephant in a sentence. Just real quick stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I would do that on all of them. And she's like, Eddie, you do know how to write elephant in a sentence. See, look, you did write it in a sentence right there. I was like, no shit, Sherlock. They're all sentences. And so she called my mom on it too. And my mom's like, I can't help it if my son's smarter than you. You know, you just got to make sure your rules are more laid out. He did the
You got to be very specific. Otherwise, you're going to get that wit.
I love loopholes. So, you know, loopholes are great.
So um, you spend a lot of time, of course, in and out of the hospitals, but you have mom that's absolutely lovely, and she's making sure that you're taken care of, but also making sure that you're on the straight and narrow. Um,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then you get into like middle school, high school age. I'm guessing that there was some more trouble that come along that way.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So when I was 12, I had to have a major operation, and my mom needed help from the state, because my mom was a single mom, and the state was like, "Well, we can't help you. Your son has, if you want to get in our program, your son has to go to our schools." Because I was going to Catholic school,
Yeah.
and my mom was barely getting by paying for that too. So she jumped at that occasion, and they put me in high school because Catholic, I was dumb in Catholic school. I got straight C's and D's, right? But all of a sudden, I take a test for public school, and I'm like, they're like, "You're reading grade level." So they put me in high school at 12 years old, and that's where a lot of the trouble started coming. I was hanging out with the older kids, and they put me in high school, but I didn't. I skipped the grades, but then they said I acted too young, so they moved me back to my normal grade because I was acting like a punk. But yeah, I did, like, I was in marching band, but I was the cool kid, kind of. So I was always getting in trouble with marching band. That's why the band teacher would go to my house and bitch at my mom about me. Uh, but I could get away with anything in high school because I was so smart. I brought up the grade levels and stuff like that. And I never did my homework. I passed tests. There's just something about my brain I could just, you know, I guess it helps when the teachers in public school, they say, "What's 2 plus 2? Is it 2,152, 76, or 4?" They make the question so easy to pass that I would always cheat. Well, not cheating, but I mean, you can just look at it and know which one it is. And so I got away with a lot of stuff. Next thing you know, I started hanging out with the wrong guy, wrong crowd, and I'm at the good school. The more I wasn't at Lompoc High School. That's like where all the gang members and stuff went. I was up a little higher school, and so they didn't have stuff like that. And I loved making money, so I used to sell all kinds of stuff at school. It started out small, like I used to do people's homework, and charge them for it. Or then I got in graphic arts class and I made some cool business cards for myself, and everybody wanted them. So I was selling them to everybody on school using the school materials, the school computer. You know. Uh,
So
yeah,
you were doing all the things that you should have been doing for yourself in class, but you were like, I'm gonna just turn this into a side hustle.
yeah.
Yeah,
If I'm not getting paid, I'm not going to do it.
that's right.
I wouldn't clean up my room, but my brother owned a restaurant and with my parents, and so every day after school, first thing I do is go to the restaurant, and the waitresses would pay me to do their little tiny jobs, like vacuuming the floors. So I used to, anything for money, anything for money. Then it got to where me and my friends went by my brother's father-in-law's house, and he's like, "Hey Eddie, you want some of these magazines? You can guess what kind of magazine."
Yeah.
Like, "No, I'm good." And my buddy's like, "Hey, dude, I'll give you $5 for each magazine." And I was like, "Hey, Felix, yeah, yeah, you don't." So next thing you know, Felix is buying me all these magazines, and I'm just selling them to all the kids at school. Then I realized I had a VCR, and I took some of that money, and I would go and buy, the tapes.
Mhm.
And we had Skinamax. We called it a Skinamax back then. At midnight, whatever movie was on at midnight on a Friday night, you knew it had boobs or nakedness somewhere
Yeah.
in there. So I started recording those and then selling those at school until this one kid, I was stupid. He had like 10 movies, and he owed me $200 basically. And I got in trouble because I took a check. I was a
Oh,
dumb took a check.
paper trail.
Yeah.
Oh, rookie mistake.
So I'm sitting there in school and I get called to the office, and I see him and his parents walk into a room, and then I see my parents, and I'm like, "Oh shit." So we go there, and they were like trying to have me arrested, he's providing to the delinquency of a minor. And my mom's like, "He is a minor." And it ended up to where I didn't even get suspended. I just got, had to go do, what do you call it, after school stuff.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
like a community service type of thing, but with school
Stuff like that,
stuff.
right? And then the deal is he had to pay half of the money back to his mom, and I had to pay the other half. So I'm thinking I'm in all kinds of trouble, you know. As soon as I walk in and get home, my stepdad's like, "Don't worry, I'll take care of that bill." I'm like, "You hate me. Why are you going to take care of the bill?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, I was always wondering how you had all of a sudden new scooter, brand new Denver Bronco jackets, you know, all this cool stuff. I was wondering where you get that money from." He's like, "Did you make all that money doing selling nudie magazines at school?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so he's like, "Good." He's like, because he owns businesses, you know. Him and my brother owned a restaurant. He ran a drug and alcohol treatment center. So he was proud of me. You know, I skipped 7th and 8th grade. Nobody's proud of me. I almost get kicked out of school for selling pornography to all the nerdy kids at school. They're not, you know, their favorite kid now all of a sudden. So he like
early entrepreneur.
Yeah. He's like, "You made money. I'm happy." so you know.
Gross says it was you that took over the visual aid department.
Yeah. Yeah.
He also says that Hope taught shorthand.
Oh, shorthand. Yeah.
she said that she's not old enough to know that.
Yeah. But then I don't even know how I met my best friend Brandon, but he went to Lompoc, so he went to the school with all the thugs and stuff like that. So I started hanging out with him, and started hanging out with most of the Mexican gang members in town. And so that's what got me, you know, a little bit in trouble, because I started selling weed then at school. You know, I was really famous for selling weed to everybody. I never got in trouble for it because I wasn't like some big time guy. I was just, you know, making a little side hustle here and there. And it's funny, one day I was at my brother's house because he's 10 years older than me. And he's having a party, and all of a sudden I see him, you know, smoking some weed. And I was like, "I didn't know you do that." And he's like, "Yeah, you know." I was like, "Well, where'd you get it from?" He's like, "Oh, I got it from my waitress, Anna." And I was like, "You should have just come straight to me." And he's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Who do you think sold it to Anna?" It was
Hope says that you didn't take checks for selling weed.
No, I did not take checks for selling weed.
You learned that very important lesson. Never have a paper trail for businesses you don't want people to know about.
Exactly. I learned my lesson with that first check. So, but I just started hanging out with that crowd, and I'm very outgoing and stuff. So everybody, yeah, not me. So for some reason, whenever I go places, I tend to make myself like the center of the room, because mostly I think I'm the center of the room anyways. So, you know, I got big head, as Hope says that I have. So I'm always meeting people. I make friends wherever I go, you know, and I became friends with all the bigger people in you know, in that group of people. And so every Friday night and Saturday night as kids, even actually every weekday, we would go to Burger King, because back then everybody had a pager, and Burger King had a nice big parking lot, and we had a telephone, you know, payphone. People remember what those are. We had a payphone out there, so we could all, you know, use the payphone.
I feel like we may have to explain it to some of our younger viewers what a pager and a payphone were.
So a pager is this little thing that, you know, or a beep. We call it a beeper because it go beep 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 beep.
Yeah.
But a beeper, you know, you would call up a number, and then in the old days, you could just put in your phone number. You hit your phone number, and then it'll make the sound, so the computer recognize it, and then you get a page, and it would just be a phone number. Or like if you had a girlfriend or something, they would page you stuff to send messages. Like I think 458 meant "I love you," you know, different kinds of stuff. 911 meant "call back right away." So that was the pager was. Then
8008 meant you're going to get lucky.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff like that. And then it got even further on to where you could get a pager, and you could I got one with a 1-800 number, right? Because I had that many people calling me, so they could call you from anywhere. And what happens then is now all of a sudden you get a voice message, right? So they could either leave you a voice message or a page. They can page you, and I know I'm old, Hope. But so you'd call this number, and you could have as long as a message that you want. Normally you say, "Hey, you're calling Eddie, you know, talk to you later," right? Not us back, and not kids in the 90s. We would play like the whole song to our favorite song, and then say, "All right," after the beep hit, you know. People hated it because you'd have to wait like an hour to leave your freaking message. But yeah, so that's what pagers and stuff were. So that's why we all hung out at Burger King. And we had one friend who was like 22, Dion. And so every time the cops would roll through, because we're all these kids are hanging out there, so the cops were always coming through. Next thing you know, Dion would have like 20, 30 beers just around him. And they're like, "You're drinking a lot tonight, Dion." It was all us kids, you know? But it was great, you know, I knew that, and because of my disability growing up, I have a lot of stomach issues and other stuff. So kids were always making fun of even a Catholic school. You know, you think, oh, you're a Catholic school, they're not going to make fun of you. Hell no, they're worse.
Yeah.
And so I learned how to fight young. You know, the first fight I got in, I got my ass kicked, and I went to my stepdad, and him and his brothers were Golden Gloves boxers. So I was like, they'll go handle it, right?
Yeah.
No, he kicked my ass for losing. You know, well, it wasn't just losing because I came home and cried about it. Well, I learned, you know, he started teaching me how to fight a little bit, and I became a pretty darn good fighter. So I was known as the guy. If you wanted to start a fight, they're like, "Hey, Eddie, go start a fight with that guy." I'm like, all right, let's go. You know, just being young and dumb. You know, you don't know any better when you're 15 years old. You want to have the cool friends, so you kind of just go along with the crowd. And so I became pretty well known for that. I was always getting in trouble for fighting. I was a fighter.
So spent a lot of time on some curbs with some handcuffs on, did you?
Not until I got out of high school, actually, and it wasn't for what you'd think. It was mostly because I had a lead foot and I got speeding tickets and couldn't afford to pay them. In Santa Barbara County and LA County, if you got a ticket and you couldn't afford to pay it, well, then you could go to jail, and they would, like, Santa Barbara gave you $50 a day. So if you owed $350, that's 7 days in jail. But then you also only do half time because you get credit for good days. So you know, why pay $350 when I can sit in the jail for 2 days and get free food and TV and stuff?
Free hot in a cot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until later on when they went down to only one hot, you know. And Santa Barbara County Jail and LA was County Jail kind of did the same thing. So what it is everybody's going back and forth to court. So breakfast was always at like 4 o'clock in the morning. They wake you up 4 o'clock in the morning. You gotta show up, show them your little wristband with your picture on there, and then breakfast or lunch was like 10 o'clock for some reason. I don't know why. And then dinner was 6. So it always sucked because I love to eat. You know, you can tell I love to eat.
Me too.
I was always broke. Yeah, I was always broke, so I never had money for soups or nothing in there. That's what he wants. He wants Panda's treat. And I can't draw. You know, if you're in jail, ways to make money is drawing, you know, cutting hair, you know, something like that. So I never had money in there. So that was rough. That was the rough part, not having good food, especially when your brother owns a restaurant. So yeah.
And so with brother owning a restaurant, what kind of food did he have in that restaurant?
So it's breakfast and lunch. So it's mostly pancakes, you know. It's a really good breakfast, and then he also has like specials for lunch and stuff like that. And he was closed at 2, so that's why I would say after I got out of school, I'd go to there because the waitresses, they have to sweep. That part of their job is sweeping up and taking out the trash. So they give me $5 to sweep and take out the trash, and that was in 1990. So you know, 1990, $5, you know, for less than an hour's work was good money. You know.
Yeah, and that would go far too.
And then as soon as I got finished there, I go straight to Taco Bell and work at Taco Bell because my brother was a manager at Taco Bell before he bought the restaurant. So it was like I had 2 jobs when I was 14 years old, which was great because I love shopping.
Yeah, and $5 at the Taco Bell in 1990. I mean, that had to go real far.
Yeah, well, $5 plus Taco Bell. So back then, minimum wage was $4.25. So I was making $4.20 or $4.15 an hour. I think it was $4.15 an hour. But then, you know, that Taco Bell gave you if you worked 30 or over 4 hours, you got a 30-minute lunch. And so they gave you 2 meals or two items, you know, so you get 2 burritos or something. So I was always eating. I didn't have to pay for that stuff, you know. So that was great. And so yeah, you know, the food in jail wasn't always that good. Here's Donnie.
Yeah.
What's up, Donnie's?
I mean, I guess you have to tell everybody about Donnie now. He's made his way into the broadcast.
So this is my service dog, Donald J. Trump. I got him November. Well, he was born November 3rd, 2020, election day 2020. So this is it, you know. And yes, I still forget his birthday sometimes because I remember one time Hope had to remind me. She's like, "Eddie, you know, what are you getting Donnie for his birthday?" I'm like, "What do you mean his birthday?" He's like, "The 3rd's coming up. It's the easiest day to remember is election day." But I got him. I had a service dog before, a Saint Bernard service dog. I was married at the time, and we had gotten him from the pound. We just found him there, and my wife and I, we had like almost an acre in town. We had a little 700 square foot house and then a huge property. So we had a lot of dogs. If some dogs showed up at our property and we couldn't find their home, they just stayed with us. So we had all kinds of dogs, and I loved my Saint Bernard. He was so calm, and I have trouble walking, so I need a taller dog. So when he hit 12, I just started mentioning it around. Hey, people, if you know of a Saint Bernard for sale, let me know, puppy.
Yeah.
And so I got him, and right when I ordered him, because they said they're about to have puppies, so I even I put the down payment before he was even born, and this I named him, and I knew I was going to name him Donald J. Trump, because I was in the political scene and streaming all over the country. And then what comes about is he's like, yeah, they were born November 3rd, and I was like, election day? So it was just like insane how I had already named him, and his name was Donald J. Trump. I mean, he was born on election day. Oh, handsome. So now Donnie travels wherever I go. Donnie goes. We had to drive to DC. He drove to DC with me. Oh, handsome.
he's making sure and saying hello to everybody.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Donnie's he likes us attention, So and I like attention. So whenever I go out, people want to pet him. I just let everybody pet him because he gets attention. I get attention. They get attention, so it makes them feel good. So yeah. So Donnie's actually pretty famous. He's probably more famous than me almost, huh, Donnie?
Dogs are always more famous wherever you go. It doesn't matter. Like, I've had that. Like people recognize me from doing this stuff, but then as soon as they see a dog, one of my two dogs, it's over. Like I don't exist anymore. Oh, the baby! Oh, look at the puppy. They go from wanting your autograph to just wanting to scrunch on your dog's face.
Yeah. When I go to the doctor here and I walk in their office, they're like, hey, they'll call back like, Donnie's dad is here. I'm there for my medical appointment, but they're calling me Donnie's dad. Oh, handsome. Or I'll get in trouble if I don't bring them places, like when it's hot outside. All right, I'm going to give you one more because you ate Panda's half, and Panda's now here, which she won't come on camera because she's so frightened. All right, sit.
Yeah, she'll probably wait till post show.
There you go, Panda. There you go. Panda's a border collie. You might better see her leave a little bit. Nope, you can't. But yeah, so that's Donnie. He's been to 42 states, I think now. Something like that. He's met Hope, and Hope keeps trying to say that's her dog, and no, that's not her dog. That's my dog. But yeah, so as a kid I got in a lot of trouble. It got to be to where I would get so many tickets that I wouldn't even go to court anymore. I'm like, they're just gonna take me to jail. And so they would. One time I was dating this girl and we were walking to church, and this cop drives by, and I was like, oh shoot, he knows me. Mm-hmm. And he stopped the car, and he's like, hey shorty, because that was my nickname, and I was like, what? He's like, don't you have a couple of warrants? And I was like, no man, I took care of them, don't even worry about it. And he's like, you're lucky I got somebody in the back. And so as soon as I walk up to the church, he dropped that person off as quick as he could so he could rush back. He pulled me out of the door of the church to arrest me.
Man,
he's like, dude, you're a jerk, man. But so yeah, I've been to jail quite a bit. My brother cried the first time he came to see me in jail. And yeah, he was like, so how is it? How's the food? And I was like, the food sucks. And for some reason that made him cry. I don't know. I guess because he owns a restaurant and stuff, And
he's like, you should have came and got a patty melt before you went.
Right. And the embarrassing part is most of the people that worked in the Santa Barbara County Jail, they live in Lompoc, where my brother's restaurant was, and it was cheaper, and they knew me because I worked at his restaurant. So it was kind of embarrassing, And so they bring me messages from your brother says hi. I was like, yeah, I'm sure he does. Okay, thank you. But jail was hard too, being disabled because I have the stomach issues and other stuff, So that was definitely hard on me. jail wasn't that bad. If you're just there for the weekend, it was no big deal. But I was also well known in there too, because Santa Barbara is a big, huge town. But for some reason, the gang members from Lompoc are scarier than the ones from Santa Barbara. Don't ask me why, but I learned that being in there because very first time I'm in there, they finally put me in a room and they put me in the medical room because I was disabled, and I was like, okay, whatever. I heard it was better there anyways because they had a bigger TV and you could less trouble. And so this guy right away approaches me and he's like, I want your milk. They gave me peanut butter and jelly and a milk. And the only other water to get is in the bathroom. You don't want to drink the water coming out of the bathroom faucet.
Mm.
And so he's like, give me your milk. And I was like, why don't you take it from me? And he's like 6 foot something, right? And he's like, what's your name, bro? And I was like, I'm Shorty. And he's like, are you from Lompoc? And I was like, yeah. He's like, yo, bro, I'm cool. Don't worry about it. I was just testing you out. Because that's what you got to do. You got to stand up for yourself the first time. And like I was a fighter, I have a high pain tolerance, so I don't care. And I'm not saying I won a lot. I probably lost more than I won, but it's not about that when you're in that kind of situation. It's about just being the man and standing up for yourself
and getting through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't really fight. I never fought once in jail because I never had to, because I kind of had a reputation of fighting, and plus I'm the cripple guy. Nobody wants to get beat up by the cripple guy.
Yeah, show up in your cell with a couple black eyes, black eyes, not black guys. That's a whole other situation. Maybe a curtain gets pulled but yeah, show up in your cell with a couple black eyes and be like, oh, what happened to you? This guy in a wheelchair. Well, never mind.
Well, that's a funnier story, and it's not my story. It's this guy I knew. He was from Lompoc, and so I'm sitting there in the med room, and this guy from Lompoc comes in. He's in a wheelchair, and he was in a wheelchair because he was in a bad drug deal, and so the other people shot him.
Man.
And so he gets out of the hospital, and they get out of jail. What does he do? He does a roll by. And then when I say roll by, he went in his wheelchair. He's pushing his wheelchair by and shoots the guy is dead from his wheelchair.
Wow.
And then the cops started shooting at him, and I guess he shot back at the cops or something. Not something very good, But yeah, he ended up in jail in a wheelchair because he shot the people that shot him, and then tried to shoot a cop. It was pretty insane, So I always make that roll by joke. Arrested for doing a roll by.
Imagine if he had the motorized, the motorized wheelchair, and then he had a scoot by.
Right. Yeah, it was pretty insane because, for most of my life, I could walk normal. I mean, I wouldn't say normal. You haven't seen me walk yet, but my walk is really bad, like if I'm walking out, I go like this the whole time because that's how bad my legs are when I'm walking. And it's very painful. In fact, I saw the video the other day, and I got to find it again. My godson, they used to make fun of us because he was like 2 or 3, and I'd walk away and he'd follow me, and he'd start walking like this, and you just hear everybody just laughing. Like, because I love kids and stuff. But yeah, that's pretty funny. When I find the video, you'll laugh your butt off.
And kids don't know any better.
No, and it was my godson. I'm not gonna get mad at him. I thought it was funny. If you can't laugh at yourself, then life sucks. A monster.
Yeah. That's very true. Talk about that with Sterling all the time. If we can't laugh at ourselves, then it'd be something wrong with us because.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Life's just, there's already too much tough out there to not be able to laugh at yourself. Agreed.
Yeah. So that's how I kind of got into wheelchair sports too. Was this program that they put me in. I had to go to a monthly group of people with spinal bifida, and they were nothing. All of these people these kids that I was around, I didn't like going to it because they're all like, "Woe is me! I can't do nothing." Everything was like the world was bad to them, and I've never been that person. My mom and my dad always said, "Do whatever you want. You're not handicapped. You're not a little crazy crippled dude like you say you are." And that's my little joke. And so I hated going to those things because everybody was so Debbie Downers. And part of it too then is I had to go to this wheelchair camp. And I didn't have a wheelchair, but they had like spare wheelchairs for people like me. And
Yeah.
I was very good at the sports in the wheelchair. So the first year I won an actual wheelchair.
Oh,
Uh, and it was more like a sporty type wheelchair because I was great at basketball and tennis and um so then I started I liked it and but I was embarrassed. I'm like, I can't do this, I'm not handy. I can walk. And they're like, can you play baseball on a baseball team? I was like, well, I tried, but I didn't make the team. It's like that, and that's why you're allowed to do it in a wheelchair. Because yes, you may not be in a wheelchair, but you can't compete in normal sports. And it actually was worse for me because all the other guys are in a wheelchair all the time, so they kick my butt in a lot of stuff. But I was great like archery, and I started going to national championships and stuff like that. And I became pretty good, pretty well known in California, at least for my wheelchair stuff. In fact, I have a racing chair now that I need to get back into. But I did a lot of sports in the wheelchair. Um, I was great at basketball, and my coach, he actually was an alternate for, or no, he wasn't an alternate. He was on the wheelchair basketball team for the Paralympics. So he went there when Magic Johnson and all those guys were on the Dream Team, and I'm a huge Magic Johnson fan. And they had asked like a week or two before, they asked me to be an alternate because somebody, bounced out. So I was an alternate, but I didn't get to go. And I was so mad that I didn't start earlier because I could have made the whole team because
yeah.
they played basketball. Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson got in wheelchairs and started playing basketball with them.
Oh man, that'd have been dope.
Right? Like the dream team. I was like, you had everybody there. So I became pretty good at the wheelchair sports and I started mentoring, other people with wheelchairs. Like this one girl, she went to her mom and she's like, well, how come Eddie can walk? He has the same disability I do. And the mom was like, well, he wants to walk. Well, guess what? That girl eventually started walking, of course, with braces and stuff.
Yeah.
But, her mom just taught her, Eddie can do it. Just put your mind like Eddie can. So I've done pretty much everything I was never supposed to do my whole entire life. I was only supposed to live a day, then it was a week, then it was a month. I'll be turning 50 in August. So, kind of tells you some stuff.
Yeah, glory to God for that, for sure. Yeah.
In marching band, I was the lead drummer. I carried the drums in marching band. So I've done it all. I've been a plumber. I used to travel the country building high-rise hotels. And that because of my disability, I got to meet I already met Mr. Hilton, right? Because we mostly worked on Hiltons. But because of it, I became friendly with them. So we're building this hotel in SeaTac, which is right where the airport is in Seattle, just outside of Seattle.
Yeah.
And he was there one day, and I get a call on the radio, and they're like, "You need to come down to the restrooms in the lobby." So I go down there, and they're like, "Well, they say this isn't handicap accessible." So I walk up to it, I turn the faucet on, I turn it off. I said, "Well, I'm a crippled MFer, I can turn it on. It's handicap accessible." All of a sudden, Mr. Hilton just starts laughing off. And so from then on, he knew who I was, and never got to meet Paris, but I got to meet him. And his assistant was this British gay dude. It's interesting watching Mr. Hilton just yell at everybody. And here's this little gay British dude walking around, being the softer side of the mark. So.
That'd be interesting hearing a British accent with a lisp.
Yeah. So I did the plumbing for a while. I'm jumping way ahead. Oh no! Well, geez, we've been going an hour already.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's it goes fast. It goes fast. So just after high school, was that the first job, or is that down the road?
No, that was down the road. So right after high school, I would work at my brother's restaurant on the weekends. I was the host. I worked at Taco Bell, and then I was an ice cream scooper at Thrifty's. And if I ever hear another person come up and say, 69 cents, when I was a kid, it was only 10 cents a scoop. And I'm just like, I think nowadays you and I are the people going there and saying, when I was a kid, it was 69 cents a scoop.
Yeah. Now it's $1.85 or something.
Yeah. But yeah, I was, when I was 18, like I said, my stepdad and I didn't get along at all. And right before I turned 18, I wanted to buy this car. And so I talked my brother into loaning me the money to buy this car. And the deal was is I was gonna have to pay him back past my 18th birthday, and my parents said, "Don't worry, he can stay at the house until after he pays you off." The day I turned 18, my stepdad said something wrong to me, and I went off on him, and so I was kicked out that day. I was 18, you know? Um,
So you started singing "Here I Go Again" on my own?
Pretty much. So I got this little tiny studio. Well, no, actually I had a bedroom. It was a bedroom apartment, but it was real small in the worst part of town. And I lived there, and my best friend Brandon would always come over and spend the weekends with me, and my house was a party house, like I said. People would come party on the weekends, and I'd use the beer can recycling money to get my other needed stuff. And it was great because my brother was still starting his restaurant, so he was always busy. And starting from when I was about 16, he would have me go hang out with his wife because she was from Santa Barbara and didn't know anybody. And so when I got my first apartment, she would come over, she'd clean it for me, she'd bring groceries over, do my laundries, and all that kind of stuff. So it was great having his wife around. And but yeah, so I didn't have to pay for washing and drying and stuff like that. But I was afraid, how am I going to pay the bill? So I'd freeze my ass off because I didn't want to turn on the heater. You didn't want to waste electricity. So it was a scary time when you're 18 years old living on your own. Um, and then my other friend Chris was like, we were really close, and he's like, "Why don't you just move in with me? I got I'm in a duplex. I got 2 rooms." So then I moved in with my buddy Chris, and that's where more of the the trouble started because we were just 2 white boys, but we were hanging out with the Mexican gang, and we had just we hung out with them so much that we became like part of the crew, you
Yeah.
know. And so one day, we had a party for this guy that just came out of jail, and I was sick, and I was really sick. He had been in prison for like 5 6 years, so he's all bulked up, and they were being too loud out there, and you're grumpy and sick, and I'm like, hey, shut the fuck, just going off on him. And
Yeah.
he said something to me, and me being me, I was like, well, what you gonna do about it? Well, I ended up going to the hospital. He kicked my ass so bad that night, right? But the next day he came over, and he's like, dude, you're in. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you sat there and you called me a bitch, even though I was kicking your ass, and I tried to stop, and you kept telling me I hit like a bitch, and you took more punches. And he's all, dude, I like a man like that. He's all, you just got jumped in. You're part of the gang now. So that's kind of how I got into it, but not really into it. I wasn't
Yeah.
expected to do the crazy stuff.
Get the respect.
Yeah, I had the respect pretty much. And so I just started hanging out with those dudes, and doing the crazy stuff, and party was at my house all the time. It was nice because I had it like a family. Whereas before, I was living with my stepdad and he was a dick, and my mom was working 2 jobs, so I never saw my mom. And so I didn't really have family until then. And they say people join gangs to be part of family, and it's true. It's definitely true. That's why I did it. And that's when I started getting in trouble. Partying all night, getting drunk. Driving around town. We used to play this cat and mouse game. Where if one person would be in the lead car, you were the mouse, and then everybody else would be trying to keep up with you. And I had this little tiny Honda, and so I could get away from people because there was um it wasn't like a mall, but what do you call those little little strip mall? Yeah, it was like a strip mall, and they had barriers. You come out the door, and then there would be like a barrier to hold up, the ceiling and stuff right there. Well, my little Honda could fit through there, and so the rules were you had to go everywhere I went, and they could fit through there, but I could fit through there going like 67 miles an hour. So I'm like calling it. All my people were freaking out, screaming in my car. So I was kind of won those games, and I just
You
became
can make 90-degree turns at 80 miles an hour, right?
I was at, because when you're 18 years old, you don't think about that stuff. You're not afraid of anything.
You're invincible at 18. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that for a while, and then I got into the online thing. I got a job at this company in Santa Barbara in Goleta, where we made silicone wafers, for that the hard drives are made out of and stuff like that. And so that kept me busy a lot. It was 12-hour shifts. But I was still working at Taco Bell and Burger King and there. because I got a brand new, I had to get a brand new car because I got that brand new Civic, then you got to put the rims, the stereo, the muffler. So I was always late to work, so I'd always get a ticket getting there because I'd make it on time, but I had to do like 100 miles an hour to get there because Santa Barbara, the lead is about 45 minutes from Lompoc. So you get off work at one job and try to haul ass there. So I kept getting more speeding tickets. And so I would get arrested. So I finally lost my job because of that. And but I got back then web TV was cool. So I had a web TV and I would go in all the chat rooms and I met this girl and she was from Alaska, she was like a year older than me, and we became really close. Like we talk on the phone all the time. And so the last time I went to jail, she's like, just come up to Alaska and I'll help take care of you. Well, I got out early and I wanted to surprise her. So I just my friend bought me a plane ticket and I went to Alaska and I called her. And that's when I found out the worst news of the worst news. She had been lying the whole entire time. She wasn't a year older than me. She was 15 years old.
Oh man.
And I knew nothing about it, right? And here I am up at the Alaska airport at 3:00 in the morning, like, oh my God, what am I gonna fucking do? Because she had said, come up here and I'll help you out. So I ended up not going to see her. And I did like a day or two later just because, you had to. You go yell at him, kind of, those kind of things. And she was still cool and stuff about it. And then her mom walks out and she's like, oh, Shorty, your jail from letter you got here before your jail from letter did, or letter from jail did. And it was just kind of crazy. So I ended up in Alaska and in Santa Barbara and stuff. The way you got the electronics jobs is you would go to like the temporary job sites. Well, in Alaska, they don't have temporary computer jobs. You know what I mean? So I got a job working construction, and that's how I became a plumber. I just pushed a broom around at first, and then they offered me a job in the elevator because these were the brand new super fast elevators. So people got sick, and your job was to sit there 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, pushing buttons. So that way the employees wouldn't, hold up the rest of the the electricians would hold the elevator open so everybody could jump on. Yeah. And that's they had, me there to stop that from happening. And after a while, I became friends with plumbers and they hooked me up with their boss. So he gave me a job as a plumber. But the first thing he said to me is, he's like, I know you're disabled, but if you want to work for me, I'm not going to consider you disabled. You're like everybody else and you got to do what everybody else does. I was like, heck yeah, let's do it. And I did such a good job. They started me out at a low rate, and all I had to do was stuff rock wool insulation, which if you don't know what that is, it's like it's insulation. It gets on your hands and it makes you itch. But this is a sandy kind, so it had little sand bits in there, and that would get so you have to tape
fiberglass in there too. Yeah.
So I did that for a month, and then I finished. And he's like, everybody hated that job, and you never bitched once. I was like, I told you gave me $2 more an hour than what I was getting. So then they started training me as a plumber, and they gave me another $2 an hour raise. And they liked my work so much that they started having me travel the country with them. And the way it works is all the Marriotts, all the Hiltons and stuff, back then they only had like 4 different plans. So once you knew the basic, the room setup, you could go to every hotel after that, and you don't have to look at the blueprints. You just know where everything is. So it was cheaper for them to pay us to go places than to train somebody new every time. And so I got to travel the world doing that. It was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Especially like being on the internet, having internet right around that time, and it was new, and everybody was, back then I had AOL, you've got mail. And it's funny because they gave like a CD.
Would believe that it used to come in that, yeah.
It was on a CD, and you would get 1,000 hours, right? And when you're traveling on the road and you're just sitting in a hotel room, there's nothing else to do but watch TV or go on that internet. And so after, you'd be at like 950 hours, you're all of a sudden emailing all your friends, okay, I just got another free disc and here's my new name, But the chat rooms back then were all the rage. AOL had their chat rooms, Web TV had their chat rooms, and you could meet people. So we learned to do is when I went to Dallas, like a month ahead of time, you go to the Dallas chat rooms and you start chatting with girls. So that way when you showed up in Dallas, you actually had somebody there to hang out with. And so yeah, that's how I met a lot of people, and I probably catfish people a lot because of my disability, because I don't.
It happened to you, so why not, right?
Well, I would tell them before I met them, like because because I learned if you talk to somebody long enough and they start having feelings for you or whatever, then they don't care about your disability, right? And that's so true in life. Um, that's why I'll say hi to everybody that walks by me because eventually somebody's gonna be like, "Oh wow, this kind of person's kind of cool," you know.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of people don't understand that if you don't, if you put yourself out there, you're gonna get more back. Because a lot of people do judge by the book, the cover of the book. And so if you put yourself out there and start talking to people, they realize you're friendly or you're funny, and you can make a girl laugh. You can, she'll want to hang out with you a little bit longer.
You get their heart. Yeah.
Yeah. So that always worked out for me. Like I dated this girl that was a model, and her friend one day I was with her, and her friend was like, "Why, Eddie, dude? Look, his teeth are messed up. He's crippled." And she's like, "Cause he made me laugh." You know, she didn't care about it anymore. She said I had confidence. She liked my, so.
That you do. That you have. I can vouch for that.
Yeah. Then on the other end, though, it's just, because of my issues, I have a lot of embarrassing issues because of my disability, and that makes it really hard too. Um, so yeah, that's extremely hard to deal with. So yeah. Then I met this girl, and we fell totally in love in San Jose. And luckily, I was staying there for a while, and we dated for like 2 years old. I mean, not 2 years. We dated for years, and then her after about like the first year, I was like, when do I get to meet your parents? And so I finally got to meet her parents, and her mom loved me, but her dad hated me because I was disabled, and she was Mexican. And you know how the Mexican family works. Once the dad says something, it's set in stone.
Yeah, it's gospel.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So we were sneaking around, and her parents, knew we were still sneaking around for so long. They eventually started having, they hired somebody to follow us around and report back to them. So that just became really rough, because when I was with her, I'd have to be quiet when her parents called, but when she was with her parents, she wouldn't even answer my calls, you know. And then her parents would call me up. Well, she's out on a date right now with some other guy. We just thought we'd let you know, even though she wasn't. They were just trying to,
Yeah.
And yeah. And eventually became where we talked about getting married and stuff like that. And so I started traveling again because I was trying to separate myself from her because it was so hurtful. Because like she wasn't the most beautiful girl in the world, but she was the most beautiful person to me in the world, And so when I started traveling, we would then meet. Her parents actually made her quit college. She was at San Jose State. Her parents paid for everything. So they took that all away from her because of me. And they made her go to the local college in Monterey. But it was funny because I was the one that took her there. I'm the one that moved all her stuff there and stayed the night there, So it didn't really work. But it became very hard, when you're disabled and you're going through all that stuff and you feel like, you're giving them your all. And she gave me her all. When I was with her, she gave me her all. But, Mexican family, the parents, you got to do what the parents say. And so that was pretty rough. So I started traveling again. And then I was in Las Vegas. We were working on a hotel there, and I got really, really sick, and I was in the hospital for a couple of days. And she couldn't come see me. My mom couldn't come see me, and I was like, you know what, this is it. So I quit my traveling job where I made pretty good money. But luckily, I knew some people in the union in San Jose, and they set me up, and I joined the union there. So I started, I moved back, but I was living in a trailer. My dogs just had puppies, and they're, in a trailer living in the Walmart parking lot, kind of deal. And it was pretty embarrassing because I couldn't take a shower, but I was a drunk. And so I go to the bar every night, and I was in love with the bartender. And one day she was like, "Eddie, you stink. You just got to get the hell out of here." And it was just so embarrassing, But that's how life was back then, living in there. And that wasn't the first time I was homeless. The first time I was homeless was right before I went to jail. And I went to Anchorage because I lived in Lompoc, but I kept losing my license and my car. So Santa Barbara is really expensive. It's like, big city money.
Yeah.
So I was sleeping in like a tent outside of my job. There's a little forest right by there, so I'd sleep there. And I was going to college at the same time, and working at Taco Bell. It was just nonstop craziness. And that's why that friend paid for me to go to Anchorage because they were witnessing me do. It was his mom, but I was his tutor in college, and I was teaching him. I got him through college basically. So that's
It
how.
was a payback type of thing. Like, let me help you get out.
Yeah, basically that. Um, so I'd spent a lot of time homeless. Like somebody stole my tent, one time. So then I was living next there was a car wash, and on the side of the car wash there was like this much room between the building and the car wash. So I'd sleep there because I was afraid for people to see me. And I worked in a clean room setting at work, and there was one room where I knew nobody ever went into, but it was right next to the front door. So I would try sleeping in there sometimes, but I was just so scared of getting caught that, you know, it was a real rough time, just, because I don't ask for help. I don't like asking for I'll never ask people for help. Um, and that's probably ruined a lot of stuff for me. I probably could be in a better place now, but gotta do stuff on your own,
Yeah, I mean,
So
certainly you got to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. But if I can make one recommendation to you, it's never be afraid to ask for help when you truly need it. Um, it's it can really, as you know, it can really be something that gets in your own way. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. If you know that you absolutely need, if you can get it done on your own, cool. But if you know that you need help, never be afraid to ask for it. And you'd be surprised because if you never know until you ask
Mhm.
just how much help you really can get. Um, and I know that because like over on my side of things, I've been married for 22 years,
Mhm.
and as of this the ninth, so it's just a couple days ago, and I realized that there are things that if I just ask my wife for her help,
Mhm.
she'll help, no problem. I just have to ask. But if I don't ask, then she'll just think that, well, Papa Bear's got it. He's taking care of it.
Yeah.
He's man of the house, and that's just how it is. So, yeah, that would be my recommendation. You never know how much help you could really can get, and it really, I think it will really help you see just how charitable people really are. Because I know that yes, most people are jerks, but there's also some real big hearts in people as well. It does exist.
Yeah. I've always thought that because I'm already down on my luck being disabled, and so you don't want to ask for help because all my life everybody's been, oh poor Eddie, he's in the wheelchair, and I hated that. I
Yeah.
hate. Like I remember I was at a plumbing convention one time, and I'm wearing my Carhartts, and I got my striker on, so I totally look like a plumber. And this guy walks up to me, he's like, "Hey man, are you a plumber?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I kind of gave him like a weird look. He's like, "Dude, man, I'm so proud of you. That's awesome." And this guy was trying to build me up, but I had such a chip on my shoulder. I'm like, "Who the fuck do you think you are? What? Because I'm fucking handicapped?" Like, I started going off on this guy. And I wish I could meet him nowadays to say, "Hey, dude, sorry about that." But yeah, that was just the way I was. I could never help or ask for help. I was always the guy helping people with money I didn't even have, and then regretting it later on because whenever you do, it seems like whenever they ask for help and you help them when you don't have the means to help them, those are all the people that'll never thank you, never pay you back, none of that stuff. And it's gotten me pretty sour on helping anybody. I finally had to tell myself, you got to just stop helping people, you know. And I don't mean totally. Like I help veterans all the time. I give my last dime to veterans if I can, or dog groups or something like that. So it's not like I'm a dick like that, but I just I finally learned that I had to stop helping friends because then it doesn't become friends anymore.
Mhm.
Like I hate helping friends too, or I hate asking, especially friends, to ask them for help. Like when I bought a thrift store for my wife, my buddy, Chip, he loaned me $5,000 to get that started. And now it's like whenever he calls, I feel, oh, I got to rush over there and fix this stuff, and I can't do it anymore. I'm in so much pain every day. I can't do plumbing, but I'll never say no to him because he helped me out with that $5,000, and I paid him back, and I paid him with interest, but it was just the fact that he helped me. Or when I first got married, I joined the Elks, because my dad was an Elk, and I was going up to the ranks, And this guy said, "Hey, Eddie, we were drinking one night, and he's like, you want to buy a house?" And I was like, "I wish I could, but I can't work anymore. I just got put on disability." And he's like, "Well, I didn't ask you if you can afford it. I mean, he's like, I didn't ask you if you can do it because of your job." He's like, how much can you afford a month?" And I threw out a number that was a lot higher than I could really. And he's like, "Well, if you want my house, I got a house that I've always had bad renters. It's a fixer upper. If you want it, I'll finance the loan and everything." And he did it, and I paid that house off in 5 years. Because the fixer upper was cheap.
Yeah.
But after that though, the problem with it is every time he called, I had to get up in the middle of the night to go help him or something. That's
It's
why,
the obligation.
yeah, so that's why I hate asking for help, because I always feel obligated to help them no matter what. And that's why I have learned to tell myself nowadays, if it's a friend person, you can help them out in certain ways, but don't go too far.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, use discernment, right? Like let your gut kind of decide.
Yeah,
And
don't ruin tip over a couple bucks, is what
yeah,
I'm trying.
you can fill it out for sure. It's like, I mean, it's like helping out somebody that's got a sign. They're standing on a corner. You never know. You have to kind of like your gut can tell you, like, this guy could probably get a couple bucks. He needs it. But then
Yeah.
you see the guy that's out there. He's got the sign, but then he's dressed like really nice.
Mhm.
You're like,
I can't do that to the people dressed bad, because one day, my brother, we catered and we had the best tri-tip around. We're in Santa Maria area, right? We had the best tri-tip where we were. And so I'm like, why don't we open up Friday nights and just sell our tri-tip, $5 a plate, let's make some good money.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Okay, it's your idea. You go spread the flyers." So I asked Kmart if I could stand in front of there and hand out flyers, and I was. And there was a homeless guy out there. And every time somebody brought him food, as soon as they walked away, he'd walk out to a brand new Trans Am and go put his food in there. And so ever since I saw that, I can't trust people on the side of the road. Now, if I see somebody on the side of the road and they have a dog, I won't give them money. But what I will do is go buy a bag of dog food, bring it back, and give them a bag of dog food. That's the difference with me.
Yeah. There's something
Um,
special about dogs though, specifically. I mean, that's like God's gift to man is these wonderful creatures that just love without boundaries.
if you don't like my dog, and you could be Selma Hayek, and if you don't like my dog, I wouldn't date her. No.
Just be like, "Bye, Felicia."
Well, I wouldn't say bye right away. I might
Well,
get a little bit of fun.
well, yeah, I'm still a Hayek. Yeah, you gotta at least say hello.
Selma Hayek or any redhead nowadays. I don't know what it is about redheads, but there's something. There's something about redheads that I just can't
It's
say no.
the most minority of minorities. So, yeah, it's like it's the scarcity. That's what
Yeah,
makes it most valuable, right? Um,
that's
you
true.
getting
What's
some
up,
love in the chat here. Getting yeah, goofy. Says she loves you. She says you're such an awesome brother. She loves you so much.
Yes, she
Um,
does. That'd be goofy.
we're getting a question of what your favorite car is,
Ooh.
and so that'd be something to think about.
Would that be a favorite car that I've had in my life, or my dream car that I want?
And while we wait for them to answer, let's continue. Um, yeah, so you're plumber, you get the union plumbing job,
Yeah.
and then and where because you keep mentioning wife, and so like what point do you meet your wife?
So I met my wife in 2008. What happened is I'd come up here to my parents' house in Yosemite, and it had snowed, and I got snowed in because we have a real steep driveway, and back then I just had my little Honda Civic, and I couldn't get up the hill. So uh, this was the time of MySpace. And on MySpace, you could go in there and say, "I'm looking for," you could say girl or guy, within so many miles from where I'm at. And you could say, "I want a Latina, I want a," all this good stuff.
Mhm.
So I did that, and I sent out messages to a whole bunch of girls, like 50 girls. I'm like, "Hey, how's it going? I saw you are near here, stuff like that." And like 5 or 6 replied, and one of them ended up being my wife. And it was interesting. She's like, "I don't have time for guys. I'm in college. I'm focused on getting ahead in life, and at that point, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I really like her," and she was pretty, um, unbeknownst to me, that was picture was like 10 years older, and she didn't really look like that, But but anyway, so that's how I met her, and we didn't talk, and, after a while, for some reason, she posted something, and I commented on it, and I was like, "Oh, that's really cool," and that's when we started talking, and it was just towards the end of my career to where I couldn't work anymore, and, I was making really good money at the time in the union, and so every weekend I'd come up and visit her and hang out with her. So that's how I met my wife, was online, you know? Um, a lot of people do it now. It's even more prevalent nowadays, I think.
Yeah.
Back in the day, if you asked me where I met my wife, I was like, "Oh yeah, I stopped at the car wash and I met her at the car wash," because I didn't want people to know I met some girl at the.
Yeah. It was for whatever reason, it was taboo back then, and I don't know why it had such a stigma, and
Yeah.
MySpace love was special. That was
Oh,
special.
MySpace was definitely special. And so we started dating here and there, and then, like, the first date I met her, the dogs fell in love with her, she fell in love with the dogs, and she had dogs, So it was, and the person I found out, the person she dated before was in a wheelchair that
Mm,
she had just broken up with. So it was kinda like, "Okay, maybe she can handle my disability stuff."
yeah.
And, she was Mexican like I liked. Um, she was a trad she seemed is the key word here, like a traditional Mexican woman. And so then I couldn't work anymore. So I brought my trailer down and I stayed in a town just outside of town because it was a lot cheaper to stay there. And after a while, her parents started getting in trouble with money, and they needed some more money. And I was like, well, if I drive to your house every night, or you drive here every night, ask your parents if I can park in their big backyard, and I'll give them what I'm paying here. So we did that, and a month later, her parents they went somewhere. They went to Phoenix to see their sister or something. And so, they're like, "Dad, can Eddie stay in the house while you're gone to protect us?" And he's like, "Sure." The minute he left, she moved all of my stuff into her bedroom, and they came back, and I'm living in the house now. So and it was traditional Mexican. So, like, I remember the first time I had dinner there, her mom was like, "All right, dinner's ready." So I go to get up, like I'm taught in my family. And her dad's like, "Boy, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, I'm gonna go get a plate." She's like, "You get your girlfriend to go get you a goddamn plate, Mexican ways." And I was like, "Man, I kind of like this, and I was happy 'cause, she was in college. I was looking for somebody so I wouldn't have to be the supporter all the time. And it was great. And then I started my own plumbing company after a while, thinking, well, maybe I can start a plumbing company and just do that, because the union wouldn't allow me to work because the doctor sent them a note saying no more. And so I was doing okay as a plumber, with my own company, but I started so late and I was in so much pain. It didn't fizzle out to where, because I thought, well, if I can get it going fast enough, then I can have employees and then I won't have to work anymore. And it just got really bad. I became the sole moneymaker. I found out she really wasn't the person she portrayed to be. When we got married, she was working at CBS. She graduated college and she was still working at CBS with 2 degrees. Um, which then I later found out that she really didn't graduate because she failed one class. So that's why she wasn't finding other jobs. She didn't want to tell me that right away. Um, but she was working at CVS and she was only getting 4 hours. And I went to her job one day and I was talking to her, and her boss says, "Hey, I need you to go do this." And she gave him this dirty look, and I was like, I already kind of had a hint, you know, but she was not a very good worker, let's put it that way.
Mm,
And at my brother's restaurant, what we do is we give you, if we don't fire people, we'll give you 4 hours a week until you quit, because then we don't have to pay unemployment insurance to you. Because
yeah.
if you quit, you don't get unemployment. And so I finally realized that's what they were doing to her at CVS. And she wasn't the person that she portrayed herself to be.
Mm,
And being Catholic and stuff like that, once you get married, you're married for life. And at the beginning, I really wanted to get the hell out of there, but I didn't, because you know that's the way you're taught. Once you're married, you're married. And we had our good times, we did, but mostly it was just bad. Um, she was always getting fired for work, so I bought her a thrift store, thinking, well, I'll buy her a thrift store. She can't get fired from a thrift store. And I didn't realize that, well, while she may not be able to get fired, she can just run it into the ground, which,
You take it real easy, yeah.
you know, um, so it was rough. It was rough. Her family loved me except for her sister, and her sister only hated me because her husband was an illegal alien, and her dad hated him because he beat her up and he was illegal and stuff like that, you know. So that made it really rough. It came to be that they finally ended up losing their house. And I'm like, how'd you lose your house? I give you the money every month for the mortgage. I pay the electricity. You know, I was paying all the bills except for, you know, they paid for their car and their cell phones. I was paying everything else, you know, handicap guy. And come to find out that while I was giving her the money for the mortgage, the sister that hated me was stealing money from the parents. And I wouldn't say stealing. She would call up and say, well, if you either give me the money or I'm taking your kids to Mexico with my husband.
Oh, man.
And so when they lost the house, everybody blamed me. They're like, well, I thought Eddie was living there to help take care of the bills. Eddie must not have been helping. And she and her family never stuck up for me. I'm like, why don't you tell them it's your sister? Right? It's none of their business. And I'm like, so it's okay for all these people to talk shit about me, you know? And that just made us further separate till we finally got divorced. Because it got to be where I hated her. You know, I didn't want to sleep next to her, none of that stuff. So she started cheating on me because I wasn't showing her any attention. And but I didn't feel like I was getting the attention I needed either. So I got divorced, and sucks because in California everything's 50-50. I paid for the house. I was the only one that paid the mortgage every month when we finally bought our house. All she paid was the electricity, and that was it. That's the only bill she paid. I paid the car loans. I paid everything else because, you know, like I said, she didn't make a lot of money. So when we got divorced, I had to pay her half of the value of the house. I had to give her her car. You know that I bought her this nice electric car. Then I had to give it to her and still pay off. So it sucks, and it got me down on, you know, marriage and stuff. I'm not gonna lie, you're not getting any more treats, dude.
Old Donnie. Yeah, but
so that was the marriage part. It wasn't fun. I became known as all I cared about money because she just portrayed it that way. Because that's what our fights were for. But it was because she wasn't. You know, I don't mind if I put in all the work and I come home to a clean house, no problem. But I would come home to a house that I had to step over clothes to get to the living room. You know, the house is nasty. And that's where it just wasn't right to me, you know?
Most marriages that end is due to finance. That's, and for good reason, because, I mean, that's what allows you to keep moving forward. And, but I would say this, don't let it be a discouragement to you. The right one is out there. She may even be watching right now. We don't know, but
you never know.
The right one is out there, and she will come into your life when you least expect it. I guarantee it. I know that. I mean, my situation's probably like really, like one in a bazillion. Guess I met my wife and things just kind of clicked, and things just went like, you know, in 22 years married, I'm 42. So you can tell you, like, it's been a long time. But for some folks, they have to hit a few speed bumps to finally make it to the right one.
Yeah. But I have that added extra baggage with my disabilities and stuff like that. So
to the right one, that won't matter. Yeah. That'll be that's just another, it's part of everything. That's the deal. But if they truly love you, then none of that will matter. It'll be about how much you love each other, and do you get along, and how much, you know, the things that you share in common, and common value systems and all that stuff. Everything will line up. Yeah, I guarantee it. And like I said, she may very well even be watching right now. We don't know. But I'm sure that she's out there, and she will come in, and it's going to change your life too. Because like when you meet the right woman, your entire mindset changes. Your entire mindset changes. Like you talked about being rough. Like before I met my wife, I was the, you know, you look at me wrong, type of fella. And then I met my wife, and I was like, I got to curb all this stupidity behavior. And, And, yeah, it just changes everything.
Yeah.
It changes everything. So you'll meet her. Now we had the question come in about your favorite car. They said both. They want to know what both of those cars are. Yeah.
My dream car. What would my dream car be? Probably, man, like maybe like a 1959 Corvette or something like that. One that I've never had. That would be a dream car. The favorite car that I have had, probably my new truck that I have now, my Ram Cummins. Amazing truck. I love it. I love it. But anything fast when it comes to cars. I like classic cars. My next car is gonna be a Tesla for sure. And it's not because I like electric or anything like that. It's because they've got that self-driving, that drives yourself. And with my disability, I'm pretty sure one day I'm not gonna be able to drive anymore. So I'd like to have that function so I can still at least think I'm driving. you know, So
Just
yeah.
don't do like the lady that my wife and I saw last year. I was driving her to work, and she's in her Tesla. It's got the self-driving feature, of course. And
Mhm.
we happen to look over, and as she's coming up past us, this lady's like this. Just full on passed out. And I'm like, I'm gonna go over into the far lane now. She's like, yes.
They say their self-driving now is safer than humans driving. They say.
They say, yeah. Until we have what was that that the self-driving service cabs there
Waymo.
in California?
Yeah, Waymo.
Yeah, Waymos. Yeah, Waymos. They had a few car accidents. So
Yeah, they're different from Elon Musk though. Elon Musk is a pretty bright dude.
yeah, yeah.
You know? Um, but yeah, and so I guess we're gonna get to the juicy stuff now. It kind of started happening when I was still married. Um, I I talked them the government into sending me to college, and
Yeah.
but I had to go for civil engineering because I was good at math, and I was good at math until I hit trigonometry, and then all of a sudden it's like I don't you know sine, cosine, all this stuff, tangents. I'm like I passed the class somehow, but it was very hard, and I'm like, I shouldn't be building bridges when I'm having trouble with this math. And they kept telling me, well, you can't change. And I took a film class because I like movies and stuff. And the professor there was like, dude, Eddie, you should switch majors. You're really good at this. And so eventually I did because I found out that, the only thing the government was paying for was actually my books. Everything else was a Pell Grant or, I got student loans for.
Yeah.
So I started going to film school. Well, it wasn't film school. It was, just media class. And it's a medium journal. It's called journalism and communications degree is what I got. So I had to take journalism classes and writing classes and all that stuff. And I started directing the news and stuff. My passion was editing film and just filming stuff. And so one day I was watching, and my friend Josh, he showed a video to where people were threatening him, and they were on camera, for his political stuff. And I was zooming in. I'm like, look, and so I figured out a way so I could show him somewhat who the person was that was threatening him. And I was like, hey, you guys make all these videos. Tell Ben Berkwam because that's who he knew Ben Berkwam. And I was like, tell Ben, I'll edit his videos for him and stuff.
Yeah.
And he told Ben pretty much right away. And next thing you know, Ben's calling me up. Ben Berkwam. Back then, he was like way up. I mean, he's now, but he was, the local guy back then. And I started editing his videos, and we became, friendly. And next thing you know, he called me up, and he's like, "Hey, you want to go to a Trump rally in Las Vegas?" And I was like, "When?" He's like, "Well, this weekend." And I was like, "I got a test tomorrow." So I called my professor. I got out of the test. I did a little bit of lying, and next thing you know, I'm in Las Vegas with a press pass, filming, President Trump out there, and it was just pretty awesome. And so I started getting into the political stuff, and well, my wife was liberal, she was a women's studies major.
Oh yeah.
And women's studies, and I can't think of it. Where if you want to become like you want to work for the DOJ. I forget what it's called. Anyways, so we started having like a lot of issues with that, because she'd argue with me. Well, I can't believe you like President Trump. Look, it says he does stuff. He's being mean to veterans, and I was like, show me where.
Yeah.
And so she'd show me on Facebook, and I was like, no. That's a fake person. That's just somebody's opinion. Show me he really did this. And after 20 minutes, she gave up because she couldn't find it in a real news source. I was like, see, that's your problem. You read on Facebook instead of doing your own research. And that had to stem from Ben, And once I started helping Ben out, next thing you know, we're traveling the country. He took me to Chicago. We're going to San Diego to the border. I'm meeting all these famous people, like Angel Mom Agnes Gibney, people like that, and governors and senators. And we became he became really famous, but I came, somewhat famous with him. So wherever we go, women are hugging us, and everybody wanted to take a picture with us and stuff like that. And so she did not like that at all. She blamed all our trouble on Ben ever since she started hanging out with Ben. Um, but it was just her liberal policies. Like the thrift store I bought her, what we did is I would buy storage units and we'd just sell the stuff in the storage units because we weren't a nonprofit.
Yeah.
And we found a Trump tie in there, and I was like, oh yeah, and the minute she saw it, she cut it with the pair of scissors. She's like, I know you want to wear it, but you're not wearing it. So I became very political. Like I'm at college, where my grades can be affected by these professors, and I'm walking around with my MAGA hat every single where on campus. And so I started, I was directing the news, the college news, and they hated me being the director, but I was the only one who could handle, doing it right for them and making sure it was right. And I'm talking live news, not like, recording. And then I just got bigger and bigger with Ben, we're in Seattle one minute, we're here another minute. And it was pretty awesome. And so I took that route, and I'm kind of upset that I did a little bit because now, I wanted to be a filmmaker, and there's no way in hell I can be a filmmaker. One of the kids that I used to mentor, he got a job with editing John Wick 4. And I don't mean editing it. I mean, he was like the peon of the peon, right?
Yeah.
He's like, if you like the way I edit, Eddie's the one that taught me how to do this. And they said, Eddie who? And when he said my name, they're like, yeah, if you mention his name around here again, he won't be working for us any longer.
Oh, wow.
It's liberal Hollywood,
Yeah.
And that was after January 6th. So they knew who I was from January 6th. And that's how I started, getting more into politics. It became to where, every time we went to an event, the Proud Boys were there as our security detail. They never charged us, they loved us, we're your security. So I finally told Ben, I was like, well, one of us should join, these are some pretty cool dudes. So I joined the Proud Boys because of that, to kind of thank them for being our security guards all the time. And it was amazing, it was like when I joined the gang, all of a sudden you had a family, and you think of Proud Boys, these big, huge guys that just like to drink and start fights. And that's not what it's all about, you never saw a fellow Proud Boy without giving them a hug, We're men, we don't give people hugs, but that was the deal. We were family, we were cool with each other. And I started that, and because of my outgoingness, and the film, because that's what they wanted me to do too, was film, so I could show people, hey, we're not these bad guys that they make us out to be.
Yeah.
And so I started going to bigger and bigger stuff every year. Next thing you know, I'm hanging out with Enrique Tarrio and Joe Biggs and Rufio, like the guys.
Yeah.
So that's where I started getting bigger and bigger. I went on my own instead of working for Ben because I wasn't getting paid there, and people started to watch me more than him. And he didn't like that, and I can understand, right? If it's my show and you're watching Eddie, if I'd be there watching Ben more than me, I'd get kind of pissed off,
Yeah.
And so that's when I was like, I should probably take this on my own. And I did. And because of my affiliation with the Proud Boys, next thing you know, I'm getting like 1,000,000 views a month, stuff like that. It was just crazy. And of course, the fighter in me, people nowadays, they don't watch the news to see boring stuff. They want to see you fight. That's why they'd watch us, because they knew a Proud Boy was going to get in a fight at some point in time. And that's what I became known for. And now I'm glad I'm not in that anymore, because I hate now that people don't watch me anymore because I don't do that stuff. And it's kind of sad. It's like, wow, all these people that used to love to watch me were only there because they wanted to see a fight. Or it's like the same people that watch NASCAR to see the crash. And it's unfortunate. They never really watched you for the right reason. they're a whole bunch of followers. I hate to say,
Yeah,
and
not authentic.
yeah, I don't like followers. I mean, heck, uh, I would go to DC and everybody be stopping to take pictures with me and stuff. Uh,
I
or
want to say
people,
this real quick. He means followers like sheep, not followers like genuine people like you watching right now.
yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, I don't mean it like that. I mean followers.
You guys are wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, I don't mean it that way. I'm talking about the followers that whatever I say, you agree to. I don't like people like that.
Yeah.
I want you to question me. I want somebody around me that's going to question me, and we strengthen ourselves by you know by checking each other. Because think about it, everybody, and everything in life would be so boring if we're all the same. We all wore the same clothes. We all ate chocolate ice cream, and we all watched John Wick movies. It would be boring as heck, right? So um, I don't like people like that, and I piss off a lot of people for that reason. And I also piss them off because I hate grifters. You know,
Mhm.
I lose money at this all the time, and it's by choice. Because I don't want to sit there and hey, every 5 minutes, hey, don't forget to hit that. Go ahead and donate $20 to me right now, or else I'm gonna be upset. And I've called out a lot of grifters because I know the situation that they're in, and I totally understand. They're doing it to make money, and you got to make money. But
Yeah.
when you're sitting there taking this old lady's last $20, you know, because like I've seen people they lie and they say, "Oh yeah, look, Antifa destroyed my car." When it was them destroying their car, they just wanted to make some more money, so they destroyed their car. And it was never on camera. Oh, there's cameras everywhere in the world now, but somehow their car got destroyed by Antifa and nobody had it on video just so they could get money. And then you watch them and on GoFundMe and stuff like that, you can take the money out and reset it back down to a lower number. And I watched him do this. Like it was at $20,000. All of a sudden, he's like, "Man, I've only got $800. People don't like me," to try and grift more money. And so I started calling these people out on it. And next thing you know, everybody's hating me because I'm calling out the grifters for what they are.
The truth. Yeah. People are hungry for the truth.
Yeah.
And so that's why the people that do watch you, I notice they're and lack of a better term, rabid. Like it's like a good rabid though. Like they really are your fans truly, not just um coming along for a ride because you're clickbait or anything like that. No, they don't. There's none of that with you, and your authenticity is what people actually gravitate towards. And I
Yeah.
think that's what makes who you are today fun to watch in my book too, because I mean that's what gravitated me towards you as well,
Mhm.
because you don't beat around the bush and you search for the truth and you hold people accountable. Accountability and consequences are kind of what life's really all about. Um, and those are values that we learn in our faith as well, of course. But um,
Yeah.
no,
I'm big time on. I hate grifters. And if you're grifting and like I said, you got to make money, right? You
yeah,
got to. But like this one grifter, he even said on stream one day, he's like, "Well, if I don't make $10,000 a month, I can't live the life I want." And when it's it's those people on Social Security and disability or they're retired, those are the people that give the most. To be honest.
yeah,
And if he didn't lie to them and say those things to get the money, I wouldn't be upset. Cause I'm like, well, you know what? They gave him, they gave him their money. It's their money. They can give it to him. But when you're lying about stuff or lowering down your
yeah,
number so it looks like nobody donated, that's when I start getting pissed.
yeah. It's a
Oh,
it's a baloney move, to say the least. And but now over here, we obviously on Revolver Broadcasting do it honestly as well. And as a matter of fact, we started a new thing, and I can't guarantee you that Eddie will dance with it as well. But something we started doing is bananas for going bananas for Jesus. And so if you donate an amount, a dollar or more, for every dollar you donate, and then after that donation, immediately follow it up with a dancing banana emoji over here on Rumble.
mhm.
I have to dance for that amount of seconds
Oh, nice.
for every dollar you donate. So, if you have it, obviously, let's like just like what Eddie was talking about. If you have it to give and you want to see, me dance, maybe Eddie too. I don't know if he's willing to do it. Yeah,
We'll see. We'll see.
donate some dollars and yeah, we'll put on some dance moves for you for however many seconds per dollar.
Mhm.
Uh,
Oh, see,
you donate.
that's cool. Like, oh my gosh, what was that Asian guy? What was his name? He was an Asian dude. and if you don't, he would just do text to speech, so you'd have to pay to do the text to speech. But then if they donated, I think it was like $50, then he would rip off his shirt no matter where he was, and that's not grifting to me. He's putting on a show for you, right? You wanted him to take off that shirt, so you paid your $50. I have no trouble with people like that.
Yeah.
But it's just the people that beg, beg.
Yeah. It's
That's
annoying.
yeah. I mean, every 30 seconds they're saying, well, and don't forget to donate or buy me a coffee or this or that. I don't even do that. I may have the scrolling thing that says where you can donate to me, but I never ask for it. Gra always has to do it. He gets mad at me. He's like, Eddie, you don't ask enough.
Yeah, at least once a stream. That's like that. Now that I've said something about it, like that'll be it, right? But other than that, we're the same over here, and we have the same thing over here over as well. As like people say in the chat, they'll remind people like, hey, if you do this. So
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah, it's I think it's a conviction, right?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
You
And I
don't
mean,
want to take people's hard-earned money.
yeah, and I'll also be honest, yeah, maybe I do get jealous of those guys because they don't have the what should I call it? They don't think like I do, they have no qualms against begging people for money to where I'm not. So I don't get jealous that they're doing it. I don't get jealous that they're getting money. I get jealous that they're doing it to where they can ask for money and not think they're a douchebag for it, So,
It's broken for sure. It's something that's something that's wrong. Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah,
But you have more talent in your pinky than they do in their entire body. So, hey,
well,
you
yeah.
win again. You're kind of a big deal, Eddie. I don't know if you know that or not, but you're kind of a
No,
big deal.
I don't know that. I don't know that. But I mean, like when I go to DC, it costs me a couple $1,000 to go to DC, and I'll get like $40 in donations, and that could be really rough. Uh, I'm not gonna lie, I've got a lot of credit cards now because of all the stuff I do, but I enjoy doing it. And if I can just change one person's mind or at least show one person the truth that weren't seeing it before, then it's worth it to me, you know. But for everybody out there, what Josh and I and AC and everybody else that streams like this, yeah, you're most of the time you're losing money. We're not doing this to make money, just so you guys know. Um, so that's why I understand why they beg, but when these guys are getting tens of thousands of dollars a month, that's when it's like, okay, you guys can
Some
stop
of them,
begging.
some of them are making millions. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and they don't help anybody. If maybe they took some of that money and did something nice with it, that would be cool. But they don't. You know, Last year, the person who helped me train Donnie, she's like, "Hey Eddie, I need to take a dog to a veteran, a service dog that we train for him. Can you do it for us?" And I was told my gas and stuff would be paid for, so I said, "Sure, no problem." Turns out I had to pay for everything. Cost me about $7,000. To get this dog from here to pick it up in Montana to go to Indiana and come home because diesel was. My buddy and I thought we would be cheaper by taking my trailer and just not going to hotels. When in return, my mileage went from 22 to 10, which made it cost more money than we could have stayed at Marriott Suites all the way.
Yeah.
And so I learned that mistake. But I'm always, especially if it's a veteran, if you tell me a veteran's in need, I'm there. So yeah.
If we may, can we back up again because you talked about January 6th,
Mhm.
and I know that some viewers had asked about that when we were talking about it this morning, actually during Morning Word, and also I think a good friend, the God Signpost, Dana Christensen, also mentioned this interview. But everybody seemed to be asking the same question about J6 and was that you? That's going to be yes. This is the Eddie Block that was at J6, and you sent me
Yeah.
a photograph. Let me see if I can get it to pull up here. You said,
Wow, you guys talking about me on your Morning Word this morning. Cool.
yeah, of course.
Like, why are you saying that Eddie's gonna get a bigger head?
So I kind of put it through a little bit of an edit, so it's a little bit clear. It's got the kind of the jaggedy edges, but it's a little bit clearer, crisper than the version you sent me. But
I just like the tear gas Like,
Oop.
that's why my favorite picture of me. Plus, I don't like my picture. I don't like pictures of me.
So yeah, there we go. You can see the Trump flag over here on the top corner, and the tear gas coming in, and old Eddie.
That was the only day I've ever said, "Thank goodness we have to wear a mask." That tear gas. Oh my gosh, that tear gas is no joke. That stuff is no joke.
It's I would say it probably made your really get tears in your eyes for sure, burnt for a time.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Yeah, you can't talk, you can't breathe. You're definitely crying. Yeah, it's rough. But that wasn't the only stuff they were shooting at us. Like they would, shoot these grenade type things, and they'd land. And if they landed anywhere near you, it would pelt you and it would hit you. And they had these soft little BBs inside, but they didn't just have BBs. They also had oh my gosh, is it Tiddlywinks, the game you're with the kid where you got to roll the ball, yeah, and then you got to pick them up. They're like little. I don't know. They're
yeah, jacks, yeah.
Those things. Yeah, they had those inside of them, so they would explode and just come at you and hit everybody.
Oof.
And I don't understand. And I'm thinking about it now. I had glasses, so they never got in my eye. But you think about that. How could they throw that at us? Because what if somebody wasn't wearing glasses and it hit them in the eye?
Yeah, definitely would have took it out.
And there was that one guy that got shot right next to his eye. The pellet stuck in his face. I don't remember who that guy was, but if you look it up, yeah, it was one of the bigger balls. They shot it right, and it landed right here in his face, and it stayed there for the longest time.
So what I mean, that day, what all did you go to the speech and things like that? I mean, what all did you do while you were there? I mean, sure, I know you were there filming for sure, but
so I got up at like 5:30, and I left my hotel at 6, and I'm on a scooter, so I start going down, and for the first couple hours, I just cruised the lines, interviewing people, just just showing what it was like out there. And I got into the ellipse, but it was so packed I couldn't see anything. And I'm on a scooter already, so you really couldn't see anything. So I got out of there, and then I went to the Washington Memorial, and on my way there, I saw some fellow Proud Boys, and they're like, "Hey, you showing up for the meeting? Is it, this time be at the Washington Monument?" So I showed up there, and they, I'd already gotten some grief for filming, because some people, their face got caught on camera, and they were kind of upset, or they were upset. Like I was like, "Hey, Steve," and I tried to explain to him, like, "Look, if I call you Steve every day and you come up to me while I'm on camera, it's just I don't think of it's automatically, hey, Steve, what's going on?" So I wasn't filming when I went to that part of it, and all of a sudden they said, "Okay, let's start marching and kissing babies," stuff like that, and that's when Rufio, uh, you know, um oh my gosh, I can't think of his real name right now. Ethan. So Ethan Nordine, he looked at me. He's like, "Eddie, this is the time for you to start filming." So I was like, "All right, cool." And so that's when we started marching from the Washington Monument. And I don't know DC at all. I've only been there 3 times or 4 times now, I think. And it's just so we just marched and marched, and we were taking pictures and smiling for everybody. And we kept stopping for people, the news, to take pictures of us. Just to kind of let them know we were here. And we weren't there as Proud Boys that day. We were just there as people that wanted to stand outside and scream, "Hey, you dumb MFers. We know you stole the election," and just we want our voices to be heard. So that's why we were there.
Peacefully and patriotically, right?
Yeah. I mean, we had no weapons on us, we just had our hands and our flags. I guess they eventually turned into weapons, But when the police start beating up on a woman, that's what started it all, if you don't know. I wasn't up front, but I seen the video afterwards, and that's what started them crashing over the wall. The 2 cops started beating up on a woman, and it was uncalled for, and that's what started it. People think, we had planned it and stuff like that. There was no freaking plan.
Well, there was, I don't know how many hundred of actual federal agents embedded into all that, to exacerbate the situation.
Yeah, I mean, me just being there at that time, I thought nothing. I'm like, I didn't think nothing of that was going to happen. In my eyes, we were just going to roll up there, let everybody know we were there, and that was it. Make our voices be heard, because President Trump said, "Hey, I want you guys to come down and let your voices be heard," and that's all we thought we were doing. And then when that started happening, and they just started shooting everybody with their pellets, and you know, that's when it started getting out of hand. Um, and I wasn't that far up, so I marched with everybody. I rented a scooter, and they were going over the grass, and the grass was a little. It made it work harder, so the battery kept overheating the motor and stuff.
Mhm.
And they actually stopped the march to wait for me. I mean, everybody loves the Proud Boys, and there's Ethan and Joe Biggs, running it, and they were like, "Oh shit, we got to stop for Eddie," and like Rufio kept messing with me, "Hey, we got to get you a better scooter next time," and because Rufio and those guys, they may be big and huge, but they're some of the nicest guys you'll ever meet.
It's usually how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, like I didn't really know back then Zach Real. I had met him a couple times, but when you're the guy in the wheelchair, everybody recognizes you, so everybody wants to come up and take your picture or something like that. So it was hard to keep track of everybody. And when I had to finally go, eventually I had to testify for them, but I started watching the video of what happened that day, and he kept looking back and making sure, "Hey Eddie, are you okay? Can I do something?" I had my own security detail and stuff like that. So these guys are like awesome as can be. But then, you know, we were there and they all kind of took off, and my security detail was trying to help me get up there. And I eventually got up there. My security detail and other people got me up pretty high up on the Capitol. And it was amazing. When you're there, it's like, wow, this is amazing. Look at all these patriots, we're standing up. I didn't know people had gone inside. I never went inside. I thought we were all on the outside. And then you start hearing, well, yeah, they went inside, and next you know you're hearing, because there's no service at that time. There's so many people in the area. I don't know if the government, put signal jammers on, or if it was just we overwhelmed the system with so many people being there. So you didn't know anything that was going on. There was no
Probably signal jammers. That usually happens when there's a large crowd. Police. That's generally
signal.
protocol for most police forces to shut down cell phone services.
Probably because I know every time I was there and the helicopters would take off with President Trump, everybody's cell phone would go down instantly. For some reason, when those helicopters took up, everything would go down. And we actually had a limo come by, and the service went down. So we all thought we're like, oh shit, President Trump's driving by right now. Turns out it was just Mike Pence going into the Capitol, so he would, where he didn't do his job.
Yeah.
you know, but it was crazy up there. But you're looking around, and there's white ladies, there's Mexican ladies, and I'm just saying ladies, just to be, make it sound better. But there was every race, creed, and color there, from 20, younger up to, there was 80, 90-year-old people up there. And they weren't there to fight stuff. They just wanted to have their voices heard up there.
Mhm.
I have tons of 360 video that I had that the FBI finally gave me back, and you watch it, and they're up there singing, "God Bless America," the national anthem, just waving their flags. Nobody's starting, trouble until the cops would come out and they start shooting tear gas at us again and stuff. And every other day you would go to the Capitol, you could get to where we were. So it wasn't like we didn't think we were breaking fences or nothing like that. We're like, we can come up here, we're not inside. But what we didn't know is those people that did go inside. And even the people that did go inside didn't really do much damage in there. There was just a couple of the stupid people doing, every group has stupid people in there.
Yeah, smashing windows, carrying off podiums and
Yeah.
laptops.
Yeah. Putting their feet on the desk and smoking weed up in there, Um, so I don't here's the way I say it. If you did something, if you threw something at a cop, if you hit a cop and you got in trouble for it, yeah, you deserved it. That's the way I feel. If
Mhm.
you broke a window, yeah, you deserved it. But for the guys that actually went inside, but they didn't break nothing to come in, they just walked through a door that somebody opened up for them. You know, why are
Right.
these guys? Why are you going after these kind of people?
They
If
may have
you,
been their first time there, like the guy with the horns.
yeah,
Can't think of his name, but they call him the shaman or whatever. But that guy, I mean, he just walked around. It's clearly you see him on all the video clips that are of him. He just walks around. You could tell that he's in awe. He's like, "This is the nation's capital. Wow, look at all this. It's amazing."
yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I remember the story, like, Joe Biggs's lawyer, he told me, like, Eddie, when he had to go to the bathroom, He actually went into the bathroom, opened the door, and went into the bathroom and went in there, whereas most people were peeing wherever they could, just because they're so pissed. And those are the people that got 21 years or 16 years. I mean, Enrique got 22 years, and he wasn't even in DC. Joe got 16. Joe and Rufio got 16 years each. They didn't break in. They were inside, but they never broke in. If you see the videos of them, they're just walking around. But they got 16 years of their life. And and so being the fact that I told you some people were mad at me about saying names and stuff, all of a sudden everybody put the blame on me. It was all my fault that all these people got arrested because I filmed them there. Although there's what, probably 5,000-6,000 cameras all around that place, everybody filming, but it was me that got everybody fired. I mean, everybody arrested and stuff, and I started getting death threats, and it became pretty bad. But when I got that call I got subpoenaed first by the DOJ, and they wanted me to go speak. First, they wanted me to speak at the committee hearing in DC, and so I had a lawyer friend. Well, he was a lawyer at the time. He wasn't a friend. He worked on the Proud Boys trial, and I happened to deal with him because I was one of his witnesses, And so I told him like, hey, I don't want to go do this. A lawyer that could help get me out of it. So he's like, yeah, I'll get you Norm Patterson. That's Alex Jones's lawyer.
Yeah.
So he calls me up and he's like, do you want to go to this committee hearing? And I said no. He's like, all right, let me handle it. It's gonna cost you $3,000. So I sent him $3,000. All he did was send a letter to Nancy Pelosi saying, if you really want to talk to my client Eddie Block, you need to subpoena him again, but just know that he's my client and go fuck yourself. That's what he said. He said, go fuck yourself to Nancy Pelosi. I never got subpoenaed again. So, it took him 15 minutes, right? And I paid him $3,000, but I'm still happy because I didn't have to go deal with none of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, because who knows what would have happened if you had actually went there.
Yeah.
You may not be sitting here talking with me right now.
Yeah. And you have to pay your own way and stuff like that, So then it came up, I got subpoenaed by the DOJ to be a witness at the Proud Boys trial. And they talked to me and they didn't like what I was saying because I was like, there's no plan, I was sticking up for my boys. But I didn't lie. I told the truth. And they didn't like it. So they're like, we're not going to use you as a witness after all. So then the attorneys for the Proud Boys called me up and they're like, Eddie, we want you to be our witness. And I was hesitant. I was like, yeah, whatever I got to do, And they helped me find a lawyer because even though you're a witness and you're not the defendant, you still get a defense attorney provided to you because you have to go there. And, so they provided me with this defense lawyer, and he did everything he could. He's like trying to get me out to not even testify. And it got to the point to where he's like, look, Eddie, all you got to do is say these exact words, and I already talked to the judge, and you won't have to go testify. And my buddy Ty was like, Eddie, dude, if you don't go testify, then you might be ruining these guys' life, And so I couldn't do it. I couldn't lie and say that so I wouldn't have to testify. So I ended up having to go all the way to DC to testify on behalf of the Proud Boys. And these were some of the people, that I was hearing rumors were threatening me, they didn't like me because I got that, but I knew as an American, I got to go, I can't let people get thrown in jail over there.
Yeah. You want to do what's right.
Yeah. And so the lawyer was pissed at me. He's like, all right, I'm done. Fine. You don't need me anymore. And he stopped because I didn't take his advice. So, I went to go testify. And this was like an old school lawyer. He only did by email. He didn't answer his phone calls. Like if he was off work, he was off work.
Yeah.
And he went on vacation during the trial. And so I had to drive because I don't fly anymore. So Donnie and I drove, and we took my friend Ty, to help me out, like as an assistant type deal. So we get to DC, and next thing you know, my lawyer called me and he's like, hey, I know we said we're done with it, but the prosecution team just told me they can. I asked him if you're going to go to jail if you testified, because I was there, I was on the Capitol grounds, and that's what the biggest fear was. And they said, we can't guarantee that we won't arrest him. So they didn't threaten me, but they did You know, we can't guarantee he won't get arrested if he testifies. And that's when he totally really got pissed off at me because I'm like, well, I'm still going to testify. So, so I went in there, and I mean, it's scary. You know, you're going in front of not the Supreme Court, but you're going, you know, the federal judge, uh, to where you could get arrested. You know, I didn't do anything wrong, and I had a press pass, so I was allowed to be up there. But still, you know, liberals will do anything to get you arrested if they want.
Yeah.
And they tried to make me look bad because I said, well, hey, if I'm coming, I got to bring my service dog. I don't fly, so I got to drive. So they gave me all this. They said, well, we'll pay, you know, because they were going to pay for my hotel and my flight. But all of a sudden, because I had to drive, they didn't want to pay for that. So I'm like, well, fuck it. I'll just deal with that when it comes down to it. So I spent all my money going there and doing it. And you get into court and you're just thinking like, holy shit, you know, am I gonna, you know, get arrested today? You know, am I gonna go to prison for life? And I had brought bail money and I gave it to Ty. I'm like, here's the bail money, and that's the other reason why he went. So if I did go to jail, Donnie would be taken care of. He could get it to the right people. And it was a very scary couple of days because I testified for 2 days, and the first day I was supposed to testify, but I didn't. So I sat there all day long, you know, in this waiting room, and some of the people that testified were some people that I knew they had threatened me. They had threatened me to my face, and they were doing it on Twitter, right? You know, they couldn't be in there, but they could tweet out every word that's said. So we're sitting there in that room just watching everything being said. And I'm like, holy shit, these prosecutors are getting on them. And the one guy that threatened me, when he walked out, you could just tell he was destroyed. He looked like he would just wanted to cry and hide in a corner. And so I went up to him and like, look, bro, yeah, I know we had some times, but you know, good job, and you know, I'm here for you. So then it was my turn, and they said, okay, you're gonna be first tomorrow. And that's, you know, your heart starts pumping and stuff. Like I've been in the middle of BLM in Minneapolis during the Derek Chauvin trial, you know, not as scared as I was going into this courtroom. And I mean, there's like, okay, you can't cuss and stuff. You got to be real nice, and it was scary, but I got through it over 2 days, and I was messing with the prosecutor. You know, he would try, you know, because you know they do that stuff. They stop you before you can, yeah. They know the full answer will make them look bad, so they stop you before you can say your full answer. And I just keep pushing on, you know. At one point in time, I made a gesture and I went like this, like I was gonna jump over the thing and just beat the living shit out of him, you know. And that's when the judge finally like, okay, Mr. Black, just calm down, just take a break, because he could see it in my eyes. But after I testified, Enrique Tarrio's mom came up to me and she's like, Eddie, you know, she gave me this big hug. She's like, thank you so much for doing this. You know, nobody else would stand up for the boys, and she's like, and I loved how you made those people look so bad, because I made the prosecution look bad. Every time they bring something up, you know, I call them on it, you know. And that's, you know, so Enrique and I, you know, we really, you know, we were friends before, you know, but we weren't really close. And I wouldn't say we're close now, but as soon as he got pardoned, one of the first tweets he put on X is, "Where's my favorite crazy cripple dude?" You know, and you know, that was kind of awesome, you know, because that's Enrique Tarrio, you know, the head of the Proud Boys. But yeah, people made it look like they were pissed off at me on the table because they were shaking their heads. But actually, I've seen some of the notes. They were laughing. They're like, "Oh my god, fucking Eddie's killing these guys," you know. and, and like they were like, "Dude, we're so proud of you. You did such a great job." And the attorney for one of them was like, "Eddie, dude, you were the best. You were our main witness for a reason." And because I just called them on their bullshit, you know. They would show a video and make us look bad. And I'm like, you know, why'd you stop it right there? If you play 10 seconds earlier, you'd see where they attacked us first. And oh, we don't have that video. And I was like, bullshit. This is my video. You took it off my live stream. You're telling me you don't have the other 10 seconds of this video? Oh no, we don't have that, sir. I'm like, well, I can give it to you right now. And they'd shut me up real quick, you know? Or like you know, my slogan is I'm kind of a big deal, right? Yeah. And Digga Word, one of my friends, she's like, Eddie, because Robert Gavea was streaming it, and all these people were, she's like, you gotta say I'm a big deal on there. So they started showing pictures, and they're like, who's that? And I was like, well, you know, that's Joe, you know. And they're like, why do you think he's talking to that guy? And I was like, well, who knows? It could be a lot of reasons. And like, you don't think they were planning something? I'm like, do you know how many people that come up and take a picture with Joe or me because they want to take a picture? And they're like, I was like, doesn't mean we know them. Doesn't mean we've ever met them before in our lives. It's just people know us from our streams and stuff. And he's like, why would anybody want to take a picture with Joe Biggs? And I'm like, well, he's like me. He's kind of a big deal, You know, I got to throw it in there. And he's like, what? What do you mean? I'm like, he's got 2 Purple Hearts. He's a hero. He's a real hero. He didn't just go and get hurt once in the war. He got hurt twice in the war. He went back for more and got hurt again. He's an American hero. And just little comments like that. And the other thing is the stand is right next to where the jurors walk in and out. And the prosecutors didn't want them to feel sorry for me being in a wheelchair. So they had it set up to where I had to be on the stand before they could walk in and out. Well, the stand was just barely big enough for me to be on. So Donnie couldn't sit up there. So Donnie was laying on the ground right in front of the door where they walk in and out. And every single juror petted Donnie on the way in and on the way out. So I think it kind of worked against the prosecutors on that.
They had access to that wonderful dog of yours.
And you're like a couple of days earlier, one of the lawyers, actually, who was my lawyer, Norm Pattis, he took a picture in the courtroom of just something on the table, and he got in trouble for it because you're not allowed to take pictures in court whatsoever. Well, it was such a big deal that me and Donnie were on the stand that the prosecution team asked the judge if they could take pictures of me and Donnie on the stand. And I am the only person ever allowed to be filmed inside a federal court like that. So that's kind of like I guess like a big thing too,
Yeah, it's because you're a big deal.
Yeah. So the prosecutors were taking pictures with Donnie, right? And I was like, hey, can I get a copy of that? And they're like, no, you'll probably put it on the internet. And I was like, you're damn right I was gonna put that on the internet. So then like after that, it just so many people hated me, blaming me for their stuff. And even after the trial, you'd think they would have came around seeing that I was the one that went up and stuck up for everybody, even though they were treating me like shit. And still people don't. I still get death threats, So it does suck. It does suck.
Well, they hate you because they ain't you, right?
Yeah. Guess so, yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned being so you did a lot. You've done a lot of this on location journalism, filming in the crowds, you said BLM earlier and riots, things like that. So tell me a little bit about that.
With that was Derek Chauvin trial. It was coming to the end of the trial, and so I called up Ty. I'm like, dude, we should go be there on the ground and film. When they announced the results of the trial. And so we did. We flew to Minneapolis. I went to Cut Foods. Where it all happened, and so we went to the Mall of America, and all of a sudden we're riding back home. We get the notice, hey, the decision's coming out. It's going to be there in an hour. So I'm sitting there running around in this crowd, trying to be conspicuous. Not being known, and it's already hard because I'm the guy in the wheelchair. Everybody knows Eddie, the guy in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting there in the middle of this, and all of a sudden they're talking, getting the press conference set up, and I just start talking to everybody, and this one guy, Mohammed something, he was there and he was running the George Floyd press conference. You know what? Let me troll this guy. Let me get him to take a picture with me. So I get this guy to come take a picture with me, and now he's like the head of the Democrat Socialist something in Minnesota. I'm like, and I did one day. I'm like, look, that Muhammad guy's hanging out with the, Proud Boy Eddie Block, trying to get him in trouble. And then I realized, I'm like, you know what? With all this Minnesota fraud shit going on right now, I better take that down because I don't want to get murdered just quite yet.
Yeah, I mean, but you were there with them, and you were like,
we do a little trolling. It's called we do a little trolling.
Oh yeah, and that's probably not even the worst one of all. I went to Seattle for the Chop Zone.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And so Ty and I, first we flew my drone over it, we live streamed it to Facebook because I wasn't really on YouTube back then. And that was when I was still with Ben Berklom. And so then I'm like, Ty, let's go inside. He's like, Ty's like the guy that when you want to do something, he's always the guy to bring you back down and say, you probably shouldn't do that, Eddie, But we still did it. So we're walking, I'm rolling, he's walking. We're going through chop zone for like 2 hours straight. And at one point, this guy walks up to us and he's like, "Hey, I really appreciate you guys coming here and showing, even though you're not with us, you're showing us." And I'm thinking, like, how did this guy know we're not with him and stuff? I get back to the hotel room and realize I had my big, huge Trump 2020 stickers on my scooter the whole time I'm going through the ride. So I mean, I'm crazy. We did crazy stuff like that. On the way back, the bus got stopped because they shut down the freeway. Remember, every night in Seattle they shut down the I-5 freeway, and so we're filming it from up above. And I was like, "Ty, dude, I'm gonna go down there." He's like, "If you go there, I'm not going with you this time, Eddie. This is way worse." So there I am. I'm down there, filming all the people, the BLM people on the freeway that stopped. So I like to get in the situation. I want to get in there and show you guys what's really going on. So I don't care if it's gonna hurt me. In fact, the Proud Boys used to always yell at me, "Eddie, don't go down that dark alley," because I would go down alleys. I'd see them run. I'd follow them down the alleys. Like, "Eddie, you're gonna get in a fight." I was like, "So what?" You know, which I have. I've been in fights on camera, and that's how I earned my. So if you don't know, in Proud Boys, there's the different degrees. So first degree is when you're just chatting with us. Kind of like a biker gang. You got to go through the steps.
Yeah.
Second degree is when we finally accept you in, but you're not all the way in yet. You're still going through the motions. Third degree is if you get a tattoo. That's a Proud Boy tattoo. And then the fourth degree is if you're beat up Antifa or beat up somebody on the opposite side, and it was caught on film. Like, you can't just say, "Oh yeah, I beat this guy up." And so I have all 4 degrees because I have been on camera beating up Antifa and stuff like that. So yes, I'm in a wheelchair, but yes, I still fight him.
Take that, Antifa. I mean,
dude, this one guy, he was messing with me, and as a Proud Boy, you can't punch first, right? So he would, and if you call me a bitch, that's like my trigger word. Don't call me a bitch, because then we're fighting. But I can't because they trained us not to start the fight. So I'm just egging this guy on even more. I'm hoping he'll punch me, and he wouldn't punch me, but he stole my water bottle and took off. So I'm on camera, and you see that me, because I have it on the front of my scooter, so you don't see me, but you see me following him. "Give me back my," Next thing you know, you see me just run into him with my scooter. The camera falls on the ground, but luckily it's facing up, and you just see me going like this, and he's punching me back and stuff. So, yeah, pretty crazy.
Wild, yeah.
I put myself in some situations that definitely could have got me in a lot of, probably could have got me killed. In fact, one of my friends got stabbed because of my video. We were in DC. It was December. What was it? December 12th, I think it was, something like that. And we're down there, and this guy Noblebeard, he walks up, and I was like, "Hey, say what's up to everybody." And he's like, "If you guys are out here watching Eddie stream, come on down here, Antifa, because we're gonna F you up, and all this stuff." And the guy, he got stabbed later on that night. And they found on the guy that stabbed him that night was a picture of Noble Beard. And if you look at it, they took the picture off of my live stream. So they were watching me, and that's how they got a picture of him. And I felt kind of bad until I found out the guy was an FBI informant, and now he can go fuck himself.
Right.
Although him and Enrique, because they've settled their differences now, which I could never do. I couldn't do that. That guy's a rat, And I understand the FBI probably put him under pressure and threatened everything, but I can't settle for that, because I'm the one that did still go out there and I was able to say no to them. Why couldn't you? So
yeah.
But then I guess I don't have as much to lose as this guy does. I don't know. I still hold it against him. I never will not hold it against him.
You might find room in your heart for forgiveness, but the day will come. But it takes a while for something like that, for sure. Now all this all boots on the ground, so to speak, type of journalism, and then eventually brings you to now. And so what led to that, and the way you do things now?
Basically, it was just the money going out was just getting way too much. It was getting out of hand. Spending thousands of dollars to go be live in these places, and not really getting, when you're losing that much money, you just can't do it anymore. But the biggest one of all is um, 12 days after January 6th. No, 16 days. It was January 22nd, 2 days after Joe Biden was, you know, all put into power, and I got raided by the FBI,
Mm.
and they took everything. They took anything electronic out of my house. I remember asking them like, "So, should I call somebody to come take care of my dogs?" Because I had 6 dogs at the time, and
Yeah.
they're like, "We're not here for you. We're just here for your stuff." Because they had called and asked me for my stuff, and I said, "No, I'm a journalist. I don't have to give it to you." So they figured, well, we'll just get a court. They got court paperwork, and they got a warrant and raided my house and took everything electronic. And I mean, everything, they took battery packs. Like what information you're gonna get off a battery pack? But they took it. They took my cable box. They took my Xbox One X. I'm like, my Xbox. What are you gonna do with my Xbox? My cable box. And they left me basically with nothing. They took all my cell phones, and I'm like, I'm going through a divorce. I'm alone. I'm handicapped. You can't even leave my cell phone here to call 911. And they're like, nope. So that's what got me changed to just doing news and stuff. Because between the death threats from the people I thought were my friends and being raided by the FBI, I figure, okay, what am I gonna do next that the FBI is gonna, they'll just tack it on and finally be able to arrest me. So I just started doing the news from home. Um, and I like it. I do. I like it because I'm different. I piss off a lot of people because number one, I call out the streamers that are grifters,
Yeah.
right? I even had a guy pretend to fight me, over it, and he just made himself look like a dumbass. I remember Gra. It was Andy from Colorado that first told me. He's like, Eddie, when you go to Sacramento, this streamer says he's gonna beat you up, and so Gra was like, Eddie, promise me. Gra made me promise him that I wouldn't fight. So I made sure when I went up there, I took a lot of weed that day because I know it would calm me down and I wouldn't react.
Yeah.
And this is the guy who he doesn't start fights until Proud Boys are around. Like if he's all by himself, he's real quiet. He's just filming. But the minute he has somebody who he knows will fight for him, that's when he starts to fight. And he never fights. He always starts to fight. He's like the little, you got those friends that they bark and bark and bark, and when it comes time to fight, they'll look at you like, all right, come fight for me. That's the kind of person this is. And so I already knew, I can be good. So I took a whole bunch of weed, and I was interviewing these 3 ladies, and I see him walk up. He's walking up, and he looked right at me, and I was like, "Oh, here we go," And he turned around and walked the other way, because there was nobody else around us. There was nobody to protect him. And so then a couple hours later, I was up there where all the Proud Boys were, all the security guards were. That's when he decided he was going to check me, and he got in my face. And luckily, I had my 360 camera. And he kind of tapped me on the back. He's like, "Yeah, I just bitch slapped you." I was like, "Well, let's go across the street then, bitch." And I started chasing after him. And my friends were just like, "Eddie, just come." And I remembered. I was like, "Okay, I promised I wouldn't." But he did it in such a way, it was a bitch move, And he only, when you tap somebody like that, that's not bitch slapping you.
No.
And I remember there was a guy named Steve. He was pretty big at the time. He just restreamed everybody. And he went on a show, and he's like, "You know why that happened? Because this person knew that Eddie would beat the living shit out of him. Because I've seen Eddie fight. He actually fights." And but that guy, he made me out to be such a bad guy. All these people that knew me before didn't like me because this guy was like, "Oh, Eddie did this," and what happened was I called him out on his bullshit. I told everybody he's a grifter, and I proved how he was grifting everybody. And so he got pissed off at me about it. I said, well, oh well. Oh well. But that's when I learned the real friends, that I have. Hope, Gra, Goofy for Jesus, Gavin Newsom, that's not his real name, but all these people are still around with me. And those I realized are my true friends. Paul Anonymous on here. That's how you realize who your real friends are. So that's why I keep it small now. I'm not, yeah, do I want to have, I used to have, 25,000 people watching me at a time on my lives. Do I want that again? Yeah, because that's exciting. You get your adrenaline going. But I'm not gonna change and be You know, like I hate clickbait. You know, well, like and people fall for it all the time. They'll see on Facebook, oh my God, Sylvester Stallone has turned down $2 billion because he won't work with liberals, and you see people just sharing it and sharing it. I'm like, that's fake.
Yeah.
But they do that because they know people will share the news that makes them feel better. And in the day and age now, people don't do their own research. They see a title and they just go off of that. But if you'd actually click on that title in real small letters, it'll say this is satire. That's how they put it on Facebook without getting, breaking the rules.
Or they it's like some kind of a workaround within the article that's like it proves it even though it doesn't,
Yeah.
And I tell my friends and family that all the time. I'm like, I saw it on Facebook. I'm like, yeah. So did you click on that link or did you just read the headline? Oh, I just read the headline. Or, oh yeah, I clicked on the link and I read the article. Okay. And what was the place where the article came from? Who wrote the article?
Yeah.
They never can tell you those things. It's like, can you show it to me now? Oh, it's not there anymore. I wonder why.
Well, and so the reason they do that is because you get paid per click, right? The more clicks you get, the more money you make. And the more shares you get, the more money you make. So these people are probably a bot somewhere in Russia that are doing this, or probably even Democrats, you don't know. And they know it because they know you're going to share it. They know you're going to share it because it makes you feel better because you don't do the research. So that's why they do it. And they're making tons of money off of you people.
Yeah, or you make you feel rage, which that sells the most. Rage.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. People would watch us for the fights, you know. And that's why I was getting 25,000 people watching me at a time because I was a Proud Boy. I was in the group of Proud Boys. I don't know if you know who Rufio is. Ethan Nordine.
Mm-mm.
You know who he is?
I don't.
Okay, so have you ever watched a video from Berkeley where a big dude and some woman tries to hit him with something. He pushes the woman out of the way, and then this other guy tries to punch him, and he hits him with one punch and knocks him out.
Yeah.
That's Rufio.
Okay.
He's known as the one punch wonder, kind of. And so I show up in Vegas, and it's a Proud Boy event, and I get called to the main house. Like only 10 people are allowed in this house, and I show up there. And I was like awestruck, there's Rufio, there's Enrique, there's, this person and that person. And Rufio walks out and I'm like, oh my God, there's Rufio, what am I going to say to him? And he's like, oh my God, it's Eddie. And I was so shocked, I'm like so nervous to meet Rufio, and he's like, oh my God, it's fucking Eddie, dude. I was like, no, you're Rufio. He's like, no, you're Eddie. He wanted to meet me just as much as I wanted to meet him, and that was like an awesome feeling, and then next thing you know, out walks Gavin McGinnis. Here I am chilling with Gavin. He's like, what's up, Eddie? And I was like, you know my name? It was just cool. And I know that the biggest part is I'm a guy in a mobility scooter, right? I'm going to stand out. And I'm the guy, but they liked it because I was showing the real side of the Proud Boys, not what the fake news was telling them. And so wherever we would go, like I'd be in DC and I like to, start up front and take a picture, let everybody walk by, and then I want to get back up front again. And everybody knew, so I'd be like, crazy cripple coming through, because it was kind of a joke I started a long time ago. And so everybody's like, make a hole, Eddie's coming through, So it was to where everybody wanted to be on camera with me. Everybody wanted to shake my hand. That's like the best feeling in the world, at least to me.
Yeah.
And it was just so awesome being that well known as, Eddie's the Proud Boy guy, and still to this day, people know me. So the radio station I used to intern at, I went there to pick up something one day or drop something off, I think for the owner. And there, our main noon guy is sorry, I'm getting old and my brain sucks now. Did you ever watch a show In the Heat of the Night?
Sounds familiar.
His name is Bubba. But anyway, so he's a real famous actor. He was the mayor of Fresno. Real famous actor. My mom loved him, right? And so I show up at the radio station and we're talking and stuff. And he's like, hey, I could use another guest today. You want to be a guest on my show? And I was like, if you knew who I was, you wouldn't want me on your show. And he's like, Eddie, what are you talking about? I want Eddie Block on my show. And I was just struck that this famous actor, is out there, and he played football, and he's this guy knew who the hell it was. It's just insane, It makes you feel good. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Wherever I went, it was like that. Everybody wanted to meet Eddie. I miss those days, kind of, but
They're coming again.
yeah,
They're coming again. I think it's right around the corner too. It's
Yeah.
something that's going to happen with all of us authentic streamers, the people that are you know brutally honest and don't don't beat, like I said before, like you've been full of integrity. Don't beat around the bush. Go for the truth. And people are thirsty for that, man. They really are. They're really thirsty for it, and they're coming. And that's why you'll see the people that do come and hit that follow button, that subscribe button. Those are the people that are like, this is what I've been looking for. And when they
Yeah.
find it, they don't let go.
Yeah. In fact, speaking of the people that I met, probably the best one was Alex Jones. It was January 6th, and I had a press pass from before, and I didn't realize I had to sign up for another press pass to get in there. So I did. I walked up and like, yeah, because I had it says White House press pass on it. It's a White House press pool pass, and I showed it to them, and they're like, but we have a different one for this event. And I was like, oh shit, okay. So I turned around, I yelled at him a little bit, of course, me being me,
Yeah.
trying to get there. But I get out there and there's Alex Jones, and he's like walking back, and he's like, sorry guys, no autographs right now, no pictures. And I'm like, hey Alex, dude, you played one of my videos before. Can I take a picture? And I don't know if it was me being on the scooter or what, but he's like, yeah, Eddie, I'll come take a picture with you, Eddie. And he knew who I was, and I'm just like, holy shit, Alex Jones knows. Of course he played one of my videos, and that might be why, but
Yeah.
still, it was like, wow, it's pretty awesome when that kind of stuff happens, or just, I mean, I talked to Miss Ray, they had me on HBO special where I was like one of the main characters, on HBO special. When I met Ashley Babbitt's mom, she's like, "Oh my God, Eddie, you did a great job in court today." Gave me a big, huge hug. And it's just when people like that come up to you, you're like, it makes you feel really, really good. So yeah.
And then, so streaming the news now, I know that's one of the things what are all the things that you're doing now, above and beyond just streaming the news?
Well, I stream the news, and then I still go places, but I'll go to fun places now. Like I went to a mini Comic Con a couple weeks ago. I went to Disneyland, and that I mostly more focus on Donnie. Donnie has his own Instagram and stuff, and I don't use Donald J. Trump on there because he did get kicked off for being named Donald Trump a while ago. So now I just use Donnie the service dog, and it helps because I Instagram and stuff. There's a lot of liberals out there,
Yeah.
so I call him Donnie. But it's the conversations you get, people when they start petting them. Like this voice actor Steven Adler was there, and he starts laying on the ground telling me his life story with petting Donnie. So that's what I film, nowadays. Reactions. I like to go to museums, or in 2 weeks, the Goofy and I are going to Vegas for a broadcast event that I'm going to film a convention. I do that kind of stuff. Or when I'm feeling down, I like to play music. So I'll come on here and we'll play music. And um, it's rough because I'll say it's 80s music night, and I have great friends, but they keep giving you songs that are like 20 minutes long, or they're not part of the genre. And
Yeah.
so they would
Let's
get
play some
mad.
Rush.
Yeah. And they would get upset with me because I didn't play their song. And I'm like, dude, that's not the genre we're in now. So I finally stopped taking songs, but now I've actually upped it because I do want to start paying off stuff. So I'm like, all right, here's a new deal, guys. Like I got a little QR code. You go to Streamlabs, because Streamlabs only takes like 2%, whatever the credit card fees, that's all they take.
Yeah.
Whereas YouTube or Rumble take 30, 50%. So I say, hey, if you want to skip the song, it's $5. If you want to recommend the song, $5. And I got that mostly from watching the Whatever podcast, because they have text to speech, and they charge $200 to text to speech. So I put one on for $20. Nobody's ever paid it or not yet, but figure,
It's
at
coming.
least I'm a grifter. I'm not grifting. They're getting a service. So now if we're playing 80s music and you want to play Rush, or something from now, you pay the $5, and then I automatically play your song right away. So I feel like I'm giving them something. but I do the music. We watch documentaries, or sometimes it's me just joking around, being crazy. We do panels, and panels is what everybody likes to watch. You've been on my panels before. It's great. People love those. So we do a lot of panels. If we can, and I hope you have fun when you're on the panels.
I
Like we do.
always do. Yeah.
We did a religious one a couple weeks ago between you, me, and AC, and that worked out great.
Gangbusters. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially, I got a whole bunch of clips I still got to post, but I've been too lazy to post them.
Well, if I may recommend, and even though they're not a sponsor, but I still want to endorse them anyway. Opus Clip.
Yeah.
Amazing for the price. Amazing, because you just set your parameters and turn it loose, and it pulls clips, and you can set them up to 10-15 minute clips and everything. Like it'll do full frame clips, not just the straight up and down portrait mode type of thing. So I highly recommend Opus Clip for those longer clips. I think that would work out really great.
Well, I'm glad you recommend it because that's who I use. Wasted my money there, but like the clips that I shared, the first clip, I only shared one so far. I added like the 100 that I have, and that's where I got it from. But what I realized is you have to tell it to do. You can only do either 16:9 or full HD. So I didn't realize you got to separate it like that. But
yeah, you can also go in and do your custom parameters too. Like it's got a whole list of things you can do to. You can set the what the words look like on the screen. All kinds of customization in there.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to mess it.
We'll kind of go in and tool around a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely got to do some more checking on it because I bought it a while ago and I never really used it, so I still almost have all my minutes left or something like that. So
yeah, and use them before you lose them because you only have them for a year.
Yeah,
so, I don't know why that expires. I don't think it should ever expire if you paid the money, but
yeah.
Those
grifters.
That's where they get the strongly worded emails from me. That's all I can do about it. So
right, but you got to work it. So I use this. It's called 4K Downloader, and I paid for a lifetime subscription. Well, recently it stopped working. It's don't worry, we're working on it. We'll get it fixed. It worked didn't work on Mac anymore only. And so then I gave him a couple months and I responded to him like, yeah, well, we have Plus now and we stopped servicing that one. So if you want it to work on your Mac, you got to upgrade to the Plus, but we'll give you half price. And I said, bullshit. I paid for a full membership. I paid for a life. He's like, well, it meant life of the software. I'm like, where did it say it? Show it to me. And I kept pushing them and they wouldn't help me. So my last one was like, that's okay. That's fine. I'm just going to talk to Morgan & Morgan, my attorneys, and see what they say about it. All of a sudden, they're like, here's your code. We're going to give you a free code. And, you see Morgan & Morgan name everywhere. So it was easy to think of that name and just use that name. And so, I know, I'm the guy that
watch this now and be like, oh, okay. Yoink.
Yeah. No, they can't take it away now.
Yeah.
But it's just like that. When I used to travel, they would give you a flight home every 2 weeks, or you could just keep the money. So most of the time, I'd just keep the money and work. You're working plus you're getting the airplane money. But when I would go home, I'd go home and then I'd be like, man, I wish I was at work right now. I'm not making any money. So I would always fly back early. And, they charge you money to change your flight to an earlier date. And what I would do is I just keep calling them back until somebody's going to say, you know what? I'm having a good day. We'll give it to you for free this time. And so I've learned, you just got to wait till you find the right person. Although sometimes when you call that line, I heard one day, Mr. Block, I just hung up with you a second ago. I'm like, hung up the phone and dialed again. There's that.
That's when they answer the phone, you go, hello.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
May I speak to a manager?
Yeah. But yeah, so that's me in a bundle. I mean, after January 6th, after I testified, I became more famous though. That's when I got on like the Silk show, Diamond and Silk. I was on
Silk,
there. Yeah. Gavin did some stuff on me, HBO, that's probably the thing that I'm most known for is HBO, but not really because all of my January 6th footage was everywhere. I've had footage, I've searched it. Every single news station across the country and the world has shown my video. So I'm kind of proud of that in a way, I'm in the congressional book now because I had to testify in court. So like all the lawyers for January 6th for the defendants, they're like, Eddie, you're in the history books. You know that, right? And I'm like, I'm not, they're in the history books. They're like, yeah, but they always mention photographer Eddie Block in them too. And if you look at it, yeah, I'm everywhere. So it's you don't realize, wow, I've gone that far. Like I've had companies call me from France and pay for my footage from that day. So I know they're watching it in France. I've had a Chinese company pay me for my footage. HBO paid me for my footage, so never pay me back what I spent,
Yeah.
And that's another reason why you asked why I don't go out. You didn't ask, but I don't go out anymore.
Mhm.
I'm still paying lawyers for stuff. I spent about $25,000 over the last 3 years on attorneys,
Mhm.
And it's all on credit cards. It sucks. But I'm getting there. I'm getting slowly paying it off every month. So that's another reason, the whole job of January 6th, there was a plan, and it was from the Democrats. And they wanted to put us in jail so that way nobody else would ever try and go up and call them on their bullshit. And it's worked. You guys see Proud Boys out at events anymore? You see people going out to events anymore? Not like it used to be. Because they're all afraid. Yeah, President Trump's in office right now, but what's going to happen when he's out?
Yeah.
We're all afraid, and it's rough. I still go out and do it. Yes, I still speak my mind, but I can't waste the money anymore because I've already spent it all on lawyers.
Yeah.
Like that's just that one lawyer alone was $3,000. I had to pay my other lawyer $6,000, and it was nothing to do with January 6th. On December 12th, they burnt a flag from a church, or not a flag. It was a banner at a church, and they burnt it. So they're being sued for racial crimes, right? And I had to be a witness. So in order to protect myself in that, because I guess I still can't talk about certain things, so I had to pay this lawyer $6,000 just because I was a witness in a civil trial. It's a scary thought. I can still be sued at any time. I was never charged with anything, and they guess you never know. What if they find a stick up their butt? I never went inside, and my lawyer told the lawyer who quit me too said, "Well, I don't think they'll arrest you because the only thing you did was go up there, and they would call it parading, and that's a misdemeanor."
Yeah.
But when I was testifying, they brought up the fact that I took a Proud Boy sticker and stuck it on the building, right? And I didn't stick it on the building. I stuck it on the plywood that was protecting the building. And one of the defense attorneys came up to me and they said, Eddie, I'm going to ask you some questions when you're up there next. Just go along with it. And so she did. And the questions were, Eddie, do you have a degree in anything? I said, yeah, I got a degree in journalism. She's like, do you have a press pass? I said, yeah, I have a press pass from my radio station, and I have a press pass from the White House. And she's like, so you're an official press person, right? I was like, yes. She's like, so when you were up there January 6th, you were there doing your press stuff. I said, yeah, I was filming what was going on. Afterwards, she came up and she said, I asked you those questions, Eddie, because they were trying to get you arrested. That they were going to arrest you for that sticker thing, Eddie. That's what they were trying to do. So, who knows what they could do later on.
Yeah. And who knows how many years they would have given you for that.
Yeah.
But it's so glad to have you out here streaming and telling the truth now. And if you guys don't already, of course, you got to be following Eddie. All of his links are in the description below. Yeah. So, we didn't get Donnie's in the description. Maybe we can add that in post.
Donnie the Service Dog, real easy.
Donnie the Service Dog. So go follow Donnie the Service Dog also, because he's a lovable pup. And I can't wait till I finally get to meet your dog face to face. And I think it's for you and I both. We're more excited about meeting each other's dogs than meeting each other.
Probably, yeah. But I don't meet you. But I love dogs. I'm a dog person.
Dogs are, like I said, God's gift to man. Now that all being said, and we're in that time frame. I mean, believe it or not, we've went through 3 hours already. And so, I got 2 final things here to run by you.
Okay.
One would be I'd like to get a closing statement from you from all of this.
Oh man, I just leaned forward and I realized, see that number 63 on there?
Mhm.
It's on there because that was item number 63 that the FBI took from me. And I just got it back. That's my old iMac, guys. I forgot that I was sitting back there behind me. So you want me to do the closing statement now, or you want to ask the other
But it's
question?
just like you usually end cap your shows with something that you kind of wrap up things with, and that would be what I'm
Okay.
asking for now.
So what I would say to everybody out there, support your local streamers, just watching, thumbs up, all that helps them out a lot. But also do your own research, you know. Um don't be these people that just watch something and say, okay. And fol- when you start following a streamer, don't just love them right away. Do your research into them. Make sure they're the quality streamer. Like, look at Josh. You guys have, faith, family, politics. You do your morning words. You do good stuff out there, and you have great shows. Whereas, don't just watch the grifters out there. That's what I gotta say. Stick up for your country. Uh, stand by your values. Right? I talked about that a lot today. Yes, I risked going to jail. Yes, I got raided by the FBI. Yes, I've lost a lot of money, but I never abandoned, myself. So stand up for yourself. Be proud of who you are, and don't hide who you are. If you got a great job and a family and you don't want to mess it up and lose your job, I totally get that. But still, then do it in other ways by watching our shows, giving us likes, stuff like that. That helps. Sharing our videos. Um, but yeah, mostly stand up for your virtues. Have faith in God, and He's going to put you in the right way.
Awesome. And then my final question being, um, to encapsulate all of this, because this is the book of Eddie Block here. Um, if this were to be turned into a physical book, what would you title your book?
Well, I always, because I call myself the crazy cripple, and I always thought if I wrote a book, it's either going to be Last Band at the Capitol or it's going to be My Crazy Cripple Life. So probably My Crazy Cripple Life. That would probably be the name of the book.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And it's just basically just kind of because of everything that just it is crazy and um the thing that some people might think that worked against you actually helped you become a warrior. If you could
Yeah.
just look back at all the stuff that you described, I mean, that made you tough.
Yeah. And vice versa too. The stuff that I thought was going to make me tough didn't. It hurts you more. So, a little bit of that yin and yang going on. But never underestimate yourself. How about that? Everybody out there, never underestimate yourself. If you want to get a new job, don't be afraid to go out and apply. Put yourself out there. You never know. Sometimes they don't hire you on your qualifications. They'll hire you because, oh my gosh, this is a hard worker. He puts thought into his work. Or she, whatever you want to call it. Never put yourself down. Always have faith in yourself.
Yeah. Shoot your shot for sure. Yeah. And if you're going to start doing something like this, just start doing it. Don't
Yeah.
don't waste time. Like, oh, it's not perfect. I don't have the right equipment yet. I don't have. Yeah.
You got
Good
one of these,
stuff.
the right equipment. That's all you
Yep.
need.
just do
So,
it. It's not perfect, or I didn't make the edit. Just put it out. Just keep making more. You know.
people, and that was one of the things when I was testifying. They said, "So you consider yourself the real news?" I said, "Yeah, I am the real news." And they said, "Why?" I said, "I'm live. I don't edit my stuff. You can see everything from start to finish, and you can make your own decisions." I said, "That's why I'm real news." So
Yeah, it's not filtered through a team. Let's say you can say this and you can't say this and da 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 da. This is
yeah,
politically correct and ah,
and you got one also too with it. You got to struggle. You got to struggle with the hills and the valleys. Okay, you're not going to be a millionaire ever probably doing this. Okay, you might finally get to a place where you make money. All it takes is one right video.
mhm,
But then how many of those people that hit that one right video are not around anymore,
yeah.
right?
They might
So
stay, they might not. Yeah.
if you're gonna do this, do it. But just remember, it's going to be for your benefit only. It's going to be for making you feel better. Don't depend on it for a job. At least in my experience.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a huge market for sure.
But you know, we are the people that people are watching now because they're so sick and tired of the fake news, and they're realizing how fake the news is. So
yeah.
it's a good time to be in this place, but also just take it with a grain of salt. Don't, you know, if you're having a rough time, keep working. God'll lift you up, right?
That's right.
I gotta, you know, I may not be rich and I may have spent tons of money and I may be in credit card debt up to yin yang, but I'm never without. Never without.
So I say, you know, be you. Always be you.
Yeah.
Don't put on a facade. Don't be some version that you think people want to see. Just be you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you know, I've watched Eddie. He's as authentic as they come. He's as authentic as the tortillas at the El Porto down the street from me. I mean, he's real. I know you do. That's why I mentioned it. And I'm thinking about food because it's a day 1 of 3 that I'm fasting right now. So I'm really thinking about food.
Oh man. Yeah, I used to live stream me going to taco trucks, or they really like it when I used to go to the Mexican bar, but it's a Mexican bar. And for anybody that's been to a Mexican bar, they can understand why they are not like normal bars.
Okay. I'll have to take your word for it.
Yeah, you're married. You can't go. Mexican bars have multiple women bartenders for a reason. They have skinny one for the guys that like skinny girls. They got the medium-sized girl for the ones that like the medium ones, and they got the big girls for the guys that like the big girls.
Like I'm thick.
They treat you like, when you walk into any Mexican bar, you are treated like a king because they want your dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So
it sounds like an establishment that men would have fun at, for sure.
Oh yeah, we had the 2 girls that like they loved it when I would come in because people would start tipping me for drinks and I'm like, here, give her a tip, you know. So all of a sudden they take over my camera and just take control of the night. We call and I mean these girls were very voluptuous. Let's put it to say the least. People would be calling me, Eddie, you gonna go see Daisy again? You gonna go see Daisy at the bar? Because they loved it. Those were I made more money going to the Mexican bar than I did live streaming the Proud Boy stuff.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, anything sex is always going to sell for sure.
Definitely.
So I say this for you guys watching right now. If you're on Rumble, we're going to get you guys rated out for sure. You know, we've done our time, and ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Eddie Block. Hoorah. But they're going to get you guys rated out to our good friend Lindy Rigg, and he's over there. He's got a panel going on. You talk about panels. They're doing some well, it's called Tard Talks, and this is episode 1. You're getting in on the ground floor, guys. If you're watching on Rumble, you're gonna be getting on the ground floor of those talks. So I hope you guys have a good time. For the rest of you, Revolver Broadcasting will be back on Monday morning because we'll be doing the next episode of Morning Word Monday through Saturday. It's Bible study, so much more. Just check out the website; you'll see it. Make sure that you hit the follow or subscribe button, of course, over here, and also make sure that you're following everything Eddie Block. And we love you guys; we really do. I know that I can speak for Eddie with that because he's a very loving guy. His heart's huge. It's huge. He's a huge heart. And with that, we'll get you guys sent over there to Mr. Lindy Rigg.
Hit that like, share, subscribe first before you go.